Hey guys. This is part 5 of What If Naruto Has No Chakra. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 13. The invasion had been stopped, but at a great cost. The day after Tsunade retreated, Jiraiya stood atop the outer wall, gazing morosely across the city as the first rays of dawn illuminated it. Konoha had suffered, the Hokage monument having been destroyed alongside a good chunk of the city. While the military hadn't suffered much, the decimation of Danzo's entire regiment being the exception, his civilian casualties were heavy and the property damage severe. It would take time to rebuild, and at least years for the leaf to return to full strength. Jiraiya doubted Akatsuki or the other nations would give Konoha such a respite. The faint sound of a shunshin caught his attention. Tsunade stood at his side, observing the world below. "I thought I would find you here," she whispered. "You had trouble sleeping too?" "I needed some time alone to think." Jiraiya crossed his arms and briefly closed his eyes. "Where did we fuck up?" The last Senju chuckled weakly. "I would usually suggest you to drown your sorrow, but I doubt the next Hokage can afford such a habit. The old geezers nominated me?" Jiraiya sneered in disgust. "Sarutobi isn't even buried yet." Tsunade glanced away, causing Jiraiya to curse his foolishness. The woman blamed herself for her failure to save her teacher. The Toad Sage knew with Sarutobi's age and wounds nothing could have been done, but survivor's guilt was a bitch to overcome, especially since it was Tsunade's hemophobia that had led to their sensei's demise, and it wasn't the first time she failed to save a loved one on the brink of death. "Promise me, Jiraiya, Tsunade, that you will watch Konoha for me." Sarutobi smiled, blood dripping from his mouth. "This is an old teacher's last request. What is done," Tsunade finally decided, her voice betraying her sorrow. "This village needs a new, strong leader in face of a crisis." That is what they said, word for word. "And Naruto needs someone with the resources needed to locate him. Gaara, Han, Fu, and Naruto have all been kidnapped," Jiraiya guessed, "by Nagato." "Who?" "The boy with the Rinnegan I taught in AIM." Tsunade didn't bother to hide her surprise. 2 hours ago, a few of Naruto's friends came to see me. They had brought Naruto's pet snake, Apophis, who had apparently managed to escape his owner's capture. The reptile explained me what happened yesterday, in detail. Sasori and Kakashi were both killed during the battle in the streets. "It wasn't hard to guess," Tsunade cut in. "We've found hundreds of his unwilling sleeper agents whose brainwashing broke after his death. As for Kakashi, are you certain?" "Naruto's attacker took the corpse with him." Jiraiya took his breath. Apophis' description of his eyes matches that of the Rinnegan. "I thought Nagato had been killed by Hanzo in a failed uprising, but I was mistaken. I'm guessing he might be this Pain who's leading Akatsuki. I can't believe I tutored our greatest enemy." "You couldn't know how the kid would turn out," the Senju consoled him. "If Nagato is indeed Akatsuki's leader and came in person to Konoha, then he might also be the reason Danzo is missing. He might have destroyed his regiment before coming to help Sasori, albeit too late to save the puppeteer. All I can say is, Akatsuki hurt us badly, and with 4 Jinchuriki in their custody it will get worse." The Toad Sannin cracked his fingers. "The Jinchuriki are most probably somewhere in the Land of Rain, or in a discreet hideout somewhere on the continent. With my spy network being nearly non-existent in Rain, it will be a pain to find them. Doubly so, as we can't afford to waste any ninjas since either Kuma or IWA might try exploiting our temporary weakness. Mei Terumi has offered her help in locating the Jinchuriki," Tsunade pointed out. "I don't fully trust her, true, but we need all the help available. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be both Godame and in charge of recovering Naruto." The pervert locked eyes with Tsunade. "You have to be Godame." Tsunade observed him in silence for a brief moment. "You know it's impossible," she explained. "I abandoned this town for years, remember? They will never accept me. I've lost touch with this city for too long." Jiraiya's stare turned cold. "Tsunade, you remember our conversation in the stadium?" The woman slowly nodded. "I'm sick of running away. I've been running away from my godson for more than a decade, and when it mattered most I wasn't there. I need to make up for that. I will never be a good Hokage, Tsunade. I've never been responsible in my life, and I would probably jump into action without a second thought. You and Orochimaru were always the brains to my brawn, and yet you did more good than the two of us put together." Tsunade shot back. "You should be proud of who you are, Jiraiya. I am happy that at least one of the Sannin turned out alright." Jiraiya suddenly felt incredible joy, and cracked a smile. Have you finally succumbed to my charms? To his surprise, Tsunade smiled back. I think with the burden you're trying to hand me, I'll be mean and leave you in the dark. Jiraiya took his breath. Tsunade, Konoha is yours. It has to be yours. Not to someone like the elders, or a clan head. Yours. Tsunade glared at him. Even Sensei's platypus? She deadpanned before shrugging. All right. I will do it. Not for Konoha, or for this post. For you. And if you wish to one day take the position, I will step down. Just don't let pain kill you, okay? Jiraiya gave her a thumb up. Hey, I'm still the master. He joked. I've got a few lessons to teach that Nagato brat. Irika Yumino sighed, as he explained to his students how they could help the adults rebuild the village with basic techniques. Everyone had been mobilized to support the reconstruction, and the academy was no exception. Irika himself hadn't seen most of the invasion. He and the children had been evacuated to a bunker hidden underneath the southern part of the city. They had been fortunate, for the bunkers placed inside the Hokage monument had been utterly destroyed, their inhabitants nearly all killed. Irika was grateful none of his students had perished during the battle. Of course, there was the problem of emotional scars. Many of these kids had lost a parent, or more during the battle, and as their teacher Irika had offered to welcome orphans at his home. They reminded him of his own situation. After the Nine Tails rampage, Kohamura had been hit the worst. The loss of his grandfather and role model had been a crushing blow, and Irika had done his best to mentor him during these ordeals. Irika-sensei, Hanabi Hyuga raised her hand. Can I ask you a few questions alone? The teacher raised an eyebrow, before smiling. Hanabi had been one of his most promising, if a social students. He blamed it on her formal demeanor. Of course. After dismissing the rest of his class, he massaged his neck. So? What do you have to ask? Do you know what happened to Naruto-san? Hanabi asked. I heard you and him were close, and I haven't seen him since the invasion. Irika narrowed his eyes. He had heard Naruto had performed inexcusable behavior with the young Hyuga, and he was slightly curious. Why do you seek him? Because he's my rival and I have to defeat him in a fair duel, she explained with all the seriousness in the world. Irika couldn't help but chuckle with amusement. Her rival? My, that's the first time I've heard of this. I see. His face turned grim. I am afraid to say Naruto has been missing in action since the invasion. We heavily suspect him to have been captured by the enemy as a prisoner of war. For now, I have next to no information on his whereabouts. Irika had a few hours before heard a Chunin say that Naruto had deserted or, better, been killed in action. The teacher had punched a man so hard he nearly broke his own hand. I see. She appeared genuinely worried an instant, before correcting her expression. I mean, this is a terrible loss. Yes. He was my favorite student in the last graduating class, to be truthful. The teacher inhaled sharply. I hope he's okay. Hanabi frowned. How was he? She asked. I do not know much about him beside our interactions and what my sister told me. Irika kept his mouth shut for a few seconds, struggling to find words to describe his old student. He was my pupil, he admitted. Not because he was a genius in the ninja arts, or good in a special area. He wasn't as bright as a Nara or as strong as an Akimichi, but I've never seen someone so stubborn and determined, beside Rock Lee. Naruto was my best student because he didn't know when to give up and his resolve never faltered. He chuckled. I'm pretty sure he's making his captor's life hellish as we speak. Hey, Hinata, Kiba started. Congratulations on your promotion. You have performed admirably well, Shino added. I am very proud of you, Hinata. Kurenai finished. I am extremely happy, and you should be too. Thank you, the girl answered with a blush, her new Chunin jacket still feeling too heavy for her shoulders. I'm so jealous, Ino complained. Shika and Hinata are both promoted, while all my efforts were for naught. Don't complain. I've got too much work now, Shikamaru whined, Chuji offering him his chips as a gift. Well, with Shikamaru and Hinata being promoted as Chunin, Asuma continued, Tsunade-sama asked us to form a single scouting platoon. We will do missions near the borders from now on and observe movements around them, in case we see signs of activities. Inwardly, he wondered how he and Kurenai could get some private time without their students watching. What about Team Guy? Ino asked. Or Sasuke-kun? Asuma and Kurenai exchanged a worried glance. Sasuke is still missing in action and our intelligence is trying to locate the prisoners of war, the Genjutsu specialist stated. As for Team Guy, since they have all been promoted to Chunin, I guess they will be sent on more difficult missions. Hinata frowned. While she trusted Tenten and Niji to take care of themselves, something was amiss. And Naruto-san? She asked. What will he do? Asuma coughed. Naruto Uzumaki is missing too. But I'm certain he's fine, he hastily added. The looks the teens sent him showed they weren't especially convinced. Naruto-kun. Hinata thought, please be safe. And this is how, after Dad remembered what this Sasori had done to him, he decided to surrender to Konoha and share his knowledge. Explained Gaidano. How long do you think they will keep him in custody? I cannot say, the man admitted. If Inoichi-san can prove he was an unwilling pawn of Sasori, then he will be freed once all useful information has been extracted from his mind. It might take a while, however, but do not despair. I'm sure he'll be fine. Lowered her head, unconvinced. Tenten couldn't help but feel pity for the poor waitress. Her father, hundreds of people, had suddenly realized their role as unwilling agent in the last phase of the invasion, which had resulted in mostly guilt, and sometimes open desertion. Tucci had been one of the few brave enough to surrender to the authorities. After learning about it, Team Guy had come to offer their support to the waitress, inviting her to Tenten's home until Tucci was freed. With the destruction of Ichiraku's during the conflict, needed help badly. Niji had been the most helpful. The Hyuga compound had been heavily damaged by incendiary bombs, and he understood the loss of a home more than anyone. I am certain Tucci-san will be released soon, he told He's a victim, not a criminal. Any news about Naruto-kun? Tenten asked, petting Apophy's head. No, Niji shook his head. Jiraiya-sama told me he would bring us information as soon as he could. As Jiraiya's official apprentice, the young Hyuga was the closest to the Toad Sage. Tenten was slightly worried he would pick up his teacher's habits, but fortunately she had yet to notice a change in the boy's behavior, beside the loss of his bitterness. Naruto had done wonders indeed. Lee glanced at Apophis. Can't the snakes help us, Apophis-san? The white snake sage told me he may or may not surrender information if he believes it to be worth the risk, the beast replied. He does not wish an open conflict with Akatsuki. Tenten prepared to snap at Apophis that Naruto was their summoner, and in great danger, before being interrupted by the opening of a door. My scout has confirmed it. Meitorimi, Godame Mizukiage, exchanged words with Jiraiya. Kisame Hashigake and Itachi Uchiha were sighted fleeing with 2 prisoners in the direction of the Land of Rain. The captives matched the description of both Gaara of the Sand and Han of the Wagakure. Nearly all of Sasori's agents we interrogated told us they sent their information to the Land of Rain, probably so Sasori could examine their reports first, and then give orders, Jiraiya stated. This confirms the Land of Rain is Akatsuki's main base of operation. Which means we'll have to infiltrate it before the tailed beasts are extracted. According to my sources, the extraction jutsu used by Akatsuki is dependent on its membership and their rings, Mei said. I do not know how many of them are left, but I am certain with the loss of Orochimaru, Sasori, and maybe other members, they will be slowed down. Jiraiya Dano. You're talking about Naruto-san, right? Lee asked, before realizing who he was addressing. Forgive my outburst, I didn't mean. No harm done. I was never a fan of formalities, Jiraiya cut in. The situation is complicated, and it will take some time to explain you everything, so let's make it short. We heavily suspect the organization that captured Naruto Uzumaki is based in the Land of Rain. And your team is going to help me rescue him. Us? Niji blinked, for once losing his stoic demeanor. Them? Mei frowned. Forgive my skepticism, Jiraiya Dano, but wouldn't it be wiser to bring more experienced troops, like ANBU? Jiraiya crossed his arms. Meito Gai is Konoha's top taijutsu master. His students are among the most promising chunin of this year. Wait, chunin? Gai's eyes widened. Jiraiya-sama, does it mean you haven't been informed? Due to their exceptional work during the invasion, the genin who reached the 3rd stage have all been promoted to chunin. The pervert chuckled at the newly promoted ninja's expressions. Hey, don't make those faces, all of you have more than earned it. Tsunade will hand you your jackets once she's fully instated as Godame. While Guy and Lee made a victory pose, Niji simply lowered his head with stoic pride. This is an honor for me to promote it. I will do my best to serve the Leaf for the best. Me too. Tenten was both proud of herself for reaching Chunin, and silently happy Tsunade would become the Godame Hokage. Her idol and somewhat tutor would be the leader the city needed in such hard times. You said we could help Naruto? She said, focusing more on her friend's well-being than her own. Yep. Since the ANBU has taken a hit during the invasion, the rescue of Naruto Uzumaki falls on me and whoever I recruit. Jiraiya coughed. As you are all his friends and proved yourselves during the invasion, I decided to have Guy's team be my task force. Lady Mizukage will also offer her nation's support in this mission. The pet snake can come too. I'm not a pet. Apophis hissed in irritation. We will rescue Naruto-kun in no time, I swear it. Lee boasted with bravery. Ayam narrowed her eyes. Just come back alive, not only with Naruto, but with his friends too, okay? I worry about them, I promise, Tenten smiled, although inwardly, she was anything but confident. If an organization could kidnap so many Jinchuriki, then what were their chances? I've seen worse, Tenten thought. I mustn't lose focus. If I remember well, this is the first time in the last 5 years we're all gathered, in the flesh, in one place, Kisame mused, sitting around the long table between Itachi and Kakuzu, although we lost several seats. Deidara snorted. With Haiden's punishment, the disappearances of Toby and Zetsu, and the deaths of both Sasori and Orochimaru, Akatsuki was reduced to 6 members, an unusually low number. Seems like Sasori Dano found out the hard way no art is everlasting. Enough, Pain cut in. I would like us to observe a minute of silence for the fallen, who gave their lives so our organization may prosper. The different criminals obeyed, although in a few cases with reluctance. Kisame briefly glanced at the room around him, finding it to be equipped with a large windows showing Aim's main districts. The building itself was the highest in the city, with the exception of the memorial tower. Kisame guessed it fitted Pain's megalomania. When looking through this window, no one escaped his gaze. After the minute of silence ended, Pain invited his underlings to report. Kakuzu coughed, and the god wannabe let him speak. The loss of Sasori and Orochimaru will put a premature end to many of our projects, the bounty hunter observed. With Sasori's death, many of his agents were freed of his mind control. A few might keep working with us, but many have switched loyalty already. As for Orochimaru, many of his men were loyal to him, not to Akatsuki. I'm pretty sure most will turn into roaming bands of missing needs. There were deserters, true, but we salvaged most of his staff, Konan replied. The invasion might have only been a partial success, but we can roll with it. Speaking of the invasion, what about Toby? Deidara asked. I heard he was killed. And where the hell is Zetsu? Worrying about your partner? Kisame mocked. I thought you couldn't stand him? Oh, shut up, Kisame. What kind of senpai doesn't keep an eye on his kohai? Toby and Zetsu are still missing in action, Pain told the group. Since there has been no evidence they survived, consider them dead unless their survival is confirmed. Itachi did his best to hide his joy, much to Kisame's amusement. The Uchiha probably hoped the masked man would be gone for good. However, Itachi couldn't help but be skeptical. Madara was harder to kill than a cockroach after all. I received news confirming Sarutobi's death at the hands of Orochimaru-san, Konan coughed. Jiraiya and Tsunade were nominated, but Konoha hasn't yet designed the Sandame's successor. At least Orochimaru managed to make the invasion a mixed victory, Kakuzu snorted. Suna is crushed. With the death of the Yondame and most of the San's officers, Chiyo should be elected as Godame Kazekage. I bet she asks for peace, if only because Inoki will exploit the situation to try seizing Suna's territory. Konoha suffered little damage overall. Define little damage, Kisame countered. The 4 Jinchuriki were captured, and between leaders' actions and the urban fights a good chunk city is in ruin. I call it a victory, albeit a costly one. What I mean is, while the leaf is weakened, its military is not crippled. Kakuzu crossed his arms. We'll be able to sell weapons in the future Suna Iwa war, but Kumo won't risk a conflict it can't win. Especially since we captured their last Jinchuriki 2 days ago. He glanced at Konan. We have you to thank for it. The woman did not answer, and Pain brushed off the matter. You would be surprised what Kumo will do, he said. The plan is approaching its final phase. Unforeseen events have caused it to progress faster than I anticipated. The other Akatsuki exchanged glances. I'm not a strategist, Deidara pointed out, yet with the great nations mostly standing, I'm not sure we're nowhere near the end. No, I did not mean Akatsuki's plan, Pain corrected, I mean my plan. Kisame frowned, just as everyone but Konan did. I am ashamed to say I deceived you. Only Sasori and Konan were aware the plan I fed you, the basic guidelines you followed, were nothing more than a glorified smokescreen. A trap for the great nations to fall in. Pain glanced at Itachi. I know the truth, Itachi, the god wannabe whispered, causing the Uchiha's eyes to widen in dread about the massacre. Where your true allegiance lays. I have known ever since you joined Akatsuki. Your role as double agent ends now. Itachi nearly thought he would be killed on the spot, only for Pain to disabuse him. Akage would have you executed, but I am generous and forgiving. Since the reasons for your actions were noble, I'd pardon your treachery, this once. Pain inhaled calmly. However, this is a one-time amnesty. Should you be found betraying Akatsuki again from this point forward, I will have your brother nailed to a cross. It wasn't a threat. It was a fact. There was no mistake in the cold tone. Pain wouldn't bat an eyelash about punishing Itachi through his sibling. The prodigy clenched his fists. Sarutobi, I told you to protect my brother, he silently cursed the dead Hokage. Yet, inwardly, the person Itachi Uchiha blamed the most was himself. Understood, he whispered weakly. As much as I find this scene entertaining, Kakuzu coughed. What is the real plan then, leader? The god wannabe joined his fingers. Has anyone told you why Yuzushiogakure was wiped out? Because their seals were feared? Kisame suggested. This is only the tip of the iceberg, the veil hiding a more sinister truth. Pain explained. The Uzumaki were wiped out because they had invented the ultimate weapon. A kenjutsu so powerful it could destroy a country in the blink of an eye. That's absurd, Deidara complained. Even tailed beasts and Iwa's strongest techniques can't do that. The ultimate kenjutsu can, Pain corrected, but for it to be used, nearly limitless chakra reserves are needed. Originally, the Uzumaki intended to fuel it by building up chakra and seals over a century. But as you can guess, there is a faster, more efficient solution. The 9-tailed beasts together can power this technique. Let me guess, Kakuzu snickered. You found and mastered this ultimate technique? Yes. All I needed were the tailed beasts to fuel it. I was aware the hidden villages wouldn't let me capture them without fighting back, and hence, I created this organization to counter the 5 Kage. Pain held his breath. When the ultimate kenjutsu will be completed, Akatsuki shall use it to intimidate the continent into submission and establish eternal peace, through unmatched strength. A power so great no number, no tactic, no jutsu can overcome it. The flags of the nations will be replaced by a single, red one, and we shall emerge as the supreme rulers of a new world. A world without lies, without ninjas, a world of purity and stability. Pain extended them his hand. Who is willing to follow me? Konan of course accepted, while Itachi didn't have much choice in the matter. Kisame shrugged and went along. Kakuzu said as long as he got paid a shitload of money he couldn't care less what his boss' plan was, and Deidara agreed for the same reason he joined the organization, because he wanted revenge on Itachi first and foremost. Kisame inwardly wondered if the madman would find leader's jutsu artistic. Then this is settled, Pain finished. We shall start the extraction of the Ichibi later, but for now, we rest. When Itachi and Kisame left the room, the swordsman gave his partner a light tap on the shoulder. Sorry for your brother, he said. It's not your fault. It's entirely my fault, Itachi shot back. I should have dragged him away from the fighting when I had the chance. The Uchiha glanced at his friend. You didn't seem enamored with leader's vision. I thought you wanted to see a world of truth. I've been fed that lie too many times already. It doesn't stick anymore. Kisame shrugged. Madara and Pain are both liars. The first wears a mask, the second pretends to be a god. Can you honestly trust a liar to create a world of truth? Point taken, Itachi said, already trying to figure out how he could free Sasuke. Once the Akatsuki members left, Pain ordered Konan to check on the prisoners while he focused on an important task. Retreating in his personal tower, the god wannabe entered a white, immaculate morgue. Hundreds of compartments contained the corpses of potential paths, all selected for their strength, vigor, or special abilities. Zetsu was nailed to a wall, chakra transmitters embedded in his flesh. Bastard, the white half cursed the Deva-path, who ignored his prisoner and opened one of the compartments. Why? Why? Because you are Madara's ally, not my own. Pain examined the newest corpse he had acquired. Danzo seemed strangely peaceful in death, the seal on his body shining on his skin. Nagato inwardly regretted not to have killed the man himself, yet found relief in the fact Yahiko was fully avenged at last. I intended to remove you both when all tailed beasts were collected. Danzo's actions simply facilitated my task. You betrayer, the black half coughed. What are my intentions? Pain coughed. I will keep Madara sealed and safe in this tower, in case I need him again. In your case, the chakra rods I implanted in your body will alter the frequencies of your chakra, allowing me to influence your clones. Pain chuckled briefly at Zetsu's astonished face. You thought I hadn't done my research? You cannot. I can. Zetsu, you and I are similar. We are a single mind controlling a network of bodies. Pain's hand touched the plant man's torso, checking out his heartbeat. It will be easy to take over your clones, to make your network an extension of mine. Of course I cannot fully control so many vessels as I do my paths, so I will settle on rewriting the minds of your remaining clones. They shall be loyal to me instead of Madara now." As the control of his clones slipped away from him, as he felt the rods destroy him from the inside, Zetsu found himself looking inside Pain's cold, shining eyes. "Your role is over, foolish one," the fake god whispered serenely, "return to dust." When Naruto woke up, it was with one hell of a headache and in a warm, king-sized bed. His eyes snapped open, then examined his surroundings. The blonde was in a suite. Probably a daimyo's, considering the great size and the multiple rooms. The walls of the room were bright red and golden, and clean clothes had been deposited on a large brown wardrobe for him to take. They were simple, common clothes. All his equipment was gone. Remembering Pain's assault, it didn't take long for Naruto to guess he was imprisoned. Putting the clothes on, after checking to see if there were hidden bugs on them, the blonde examined the suite. It contained a bathroom, a salon, a kitchen, and a cocktail bar equipped with what appeared to be a radio. The place was fitted with windows, and Naruto gazed outside through them. The city he was currently imprisoned within was suffering from a downpour, to the point it was difficult to see past the rain. It was night, but neon lights illuminated the streets. From the black buildings to the ominous tower in the center of the city, the atmosphere outside seemed gloomy. It took him 2 minutes to find the door of the suite, a closed wooden gate standing between the ninja and the world outside. Naruto first knocked gently on it. Then when nobody answered, he knocked harder. In the end, he decided to be loud. Hey! Hey, what's up? Pain? Pain, open that door, we've got to talk." The door opened, forcing Naruto to take a step back. "You should stay quiet, you annoying brat," a giant warned softly, entering the room and overshadowing Naruto. The creature was vaguely humanoid, and it ended there. The fingers ended with claws, the teeth were fangs. The creature's skin was slightly red in tone. His height reached nearly 8 feet, his body being a mass of muscles. He was wearing bandages over the head and chest, and short black pants. He even had little horns on the back of his skull. Naruto briefly glanced in case there was an opening, but he backed down upon realizing the giant was backed up by 2 masked guards. "Who are you?" "I know I've gained a few pounds," the creature said with a deep, yet slightly familiar voice, "but I am saddened you don't remember me, Naruto. After all, am I not the one who introduced you to Orochimaru-sama in the first place?" The blonde's eyes snapped open. "Dosu? Surprised?" The monster snickered. "I told you Orochimaru could give you great power should you join us. As you can see, I underwent a metamorphosis. A pity you decided not to cast down this feeble body of yours to get an improved one. Trust me, you would feel better. Where am I?" Naruto clenched his fists. "Where are my friends? Where's Pain?" "Pain-sama is currently occupied and apologizes for being too busy to give you some of his precious time," Dosu replied softly. "However, Konan-sama, his second in command, will visit you very soon. Until then, it would be better for you to find a way to kill time in silence, while the men behind me and I guard the door." Naruto gritted his teeth. He hated being powerless. "You didn't answer my first questions. Your friends are the least of your worries right now," Dosu shrugged his shoulders. "As for the where, haven't you looked through the windows? I thought with your intelligence you would have guessed by now." The giant slowly closed the door, upon leaving the room. "Welcome to Amegakure, Naruto." After waiting for several minutes, Naruto indeed found a way to kill time, observing every corner of his new suite and looking for a way to escape. He found none. At best he could break the windows, but the height was too great. Naruto was probably on the 15th floor, and the fall would kill him. Cursing, the blonde decided to kill time another way. Reaching the cocktail bar, he started examining the radio. What was it doing here? Without tools he couldn't exploit it, so he simply turned it on. The radio first produced some music, a song Naruto found calming. After a short time, the song ended and was replaced by a singing, masculine voice. "Welcome on Radio AIM, ladies and gentlemen. Here is your pal Mr. Rainbow. If you want to hear the news, stay tuned." Naruto blinked. "The hell? Did I tell you that you were the most lovely, wonderful listeners in the world? Because this is the first news." The voice adopted a slightly more serious tone. "Yesterday, Konohagakure was attacked by their once close allies, Tsunade, in the middle of the Chunin exams organized for the continent's southern countries. According to our information, it appears to be retribution for the border incident which happened nearly 2 months ago. Missing names were reported to have fought on Tsunagakure's side. The authorities suspect they had been hired." The voice on the radio continued to give what appeared to be a civilian report on the set of events now nicknamed the invasion of Konoha. It was a source of good, if impossible to check out, info. Tsunade's forces were helped by shock missing Nin troops, including the infamous Orochimaru, who was killed in action. The Kazekage was missing in action, and overall, Amegakuri's army barely lost a fifth of its military strength. Naruto was glad to hear that. Then the voice announced the death of the Sandaime Hokage. The details weren't clear. According to witnesses, it was Orochimaru who gave him the fatal blow. Others pretended they saw the ghost of the Shodai Hokage do the deed through a purple wall, which made little sense. However, the Sandaime's death had been confirmed by Konoha. A Godain would be chosen in the following, with Jiraiya and Tsunade being the most likely candidates. Naruto wasn't sure what he felt at that instant. Sadness? Anger? All in all, it felt awful. His grandfather figure was gone, and with him, the possibilities of learning the truth about his past. Then it got worse. While Konoha's army didn't suffer much, at least a fourth of the city had been destroyed, along with the entire Hokage monument. The blonde blinked at that, doubly so when he learned thousands of civilians and ninjas that had been trapped in the area were dead or missing. The Hyuga compound had been nearly entirely destroyed. Could that brat Hanabi and Hinata have been killed? Absurd, he told himself. Both were in the stadium at the time, but they could have been killed there too. Could Ayame and her dad have died during the chaos? Was Irika alive? And what the hell Pain did to his friends? Fu was needed for Akatsuki's plans, and Sasuke had been targeted by Sasori in the past, but what about Yugao? Naruto found the uncertainty, and his own doubts more troubling than the news. Then the news were over and the radio produced a happy melodious song, which utterly failed to improve the blonde's mood. Hello, Naruto-san. So lost in his thoughts, the ninja hadn't heard when someone had slipped in. His eyes drifted until they found the voice's source, a woman in her mid-30s, with short blue hair and amber eyes. She was wearing black civilian clothing and very beautiful, but her emotionless face chilled Naruto to the bone. This is a pleasure to meet you, the woman bowed politely. My name is Konan. I am Pain-sama's second-in-command and assistant. It's a pleasure to see a wonderful lady visiting a poor boy such as myself. Naruto faked a smile, doing his best to hide his tension and fear. If this woman wanted to exchange fake politeness, he would answer in kind. As expected, Konan was not disarmed in the slightest and moved behind the bar. Naruto did not let her escape his gaze. Would you like some refreshment? Does fresh air count? Naruto deadpanned. You will get outside, eventually. I hope you understand we did not go through so much troubles to bring you here, only to release you on the spot. She placed a glass full of a mix of fruit juice and alcohol. Aware she could kill or drug him any time without him being able to fight back, Naruto reluctantly brought the liquid to his lips. I am certain you have questions. Naruto did the only thing he could, glare at her. What did Pain do to my friends? Nothing. They are alive and safe in other areas of the city. We prefer to keep you in different buildings, to prevent you from organizing a possible escape attempt. Konan shrugged. I assure you Fu of Takigakure, Sasuke Uchiha, Han of IWA, Gaara of the Sand, and your ANBU protector are treated. Han? Naruto's eyes widened. Gaara? Yes, we captured them both. Konan cracked a small, faint smile. With my recent capture of Yujito-ni, all Jinchuriki have been captured. Naruto paled. Why are you telling me this? Because Pain asked me to check on you, and I don't see why I shouldn't be honest with a guest. Konan glanced at the radio. This was a gift from me. AIM has been trying to popularize a national radio, and I thought you might appreciate learning news from the outside world. While Naruto experienced brief genuine gratefulness, his suspicious nature prevailed. If we're in AIM, then it means Salamander Hanzo is behind Akatsuki? Funding it? Hanzo is dead and buried. Konan's tone was full of anger, which surprised Naruto. Pain killed him and took over. The event is very recent, so most of the world at large ignores this information. Pain rules Amegakure with an iron fist, both as leader and god. Since Hanzo had wasted the three Sannin together, it spoke volumes about Pain's power. Considering the ease he had restraining opponents who managed to stand up to Sasori, it wasn't very surprising. Who is Pain exactly? Naruto asked. Who are you to him? What does he want? Konan glanced at the windows. You should ask him yourself. When Naruto saw a man floating beyond the window, the rain trailing down his face, the teen's blood froze in his veins. Naruto, Pain started, I will show you the real me. The tower in the center of Amegakure was Pain's HQ, and the highest floor his home. When Pain told him he would see the real him, Naruto briefly thought Pain was a figurehead for a nastier, more elusive missing nin. Maybe a legend like Madara Uchiha, or Hanzo faking his death. When the false pain guided him inside, revealing the tower as a giant morgue and memorial for the fallen, the Konoha briefly wondered what kind of man would willingly live in such a graveyard. The top floor was, however, much different from the rest of the building. It was a fairly simple apartment, with the only noteworthy room being a large, cubic place equipped with screens, computers, and maps, and in the center, the Real Pain waited on his throne. He was a redhead, emaciated man in his mid-30s, who moved inside a floating throne, preventing Naruto from seeing anything underneath the naked torso. The ninja's skin was pale, pierced with black rods. His eyes were the same as the fake Pain's, and his fingers were intertwined. He was a hunter observing a prey. The all-powerful, terrifying leader of both Akatsuki and Amegakure was a man in a glorified wheelchair. It would have been a huge letdown if Naruto couldn't feel the power emanating from this man. The redhead's mere presence was nearly unbearable. Even Sasori or Orochimaru never frightened Naruto to this extent. This man could probably crush the teen without lifting a finger. "I am certain you expected something else," the redhead whispered. "My name is Nagato Uzumaki, bearer of the Rinnegan and the new god of this world. Pain is but a vessel of my will, a puppet I control through projecting my chakra. Sasori and I shared more than blood. Why did you try killing him? The body was in such a poor condition even I couldn't recreate it." Naruto clenched his fists. "Because he harmed my loved ones. A kinslayer is said to be cursed, and Itachi may be the living proof of it." Nagato narrowed his eyes, the fabled dojutsu said able to undo creation itself. "Although I understand your grievances, I cannot help but think this was a mistake from my part. Akatsuki should have approached you earlier, on better terms. If I had simply had more foresight, you might have joined us willingly." The tone was genuinely regretful, and Naruto paused, unable to decide if this was a trick to earn the teen's sympathy. "But you are not here to discuss Sasori, correct? The past is the past." Nagato raised his head. "As Konan probably told you, your friends are fine and being treated as guests. Contact with them will be limited, for your security, but I can arrange a visit once per week, if this is alright for you." Naruto clenched his jaw. This was a crappy deal, but this was the best he would get. "What will you do to them? If you and they cooperate, nothing. I need the bijou for my plans, but I do not need to extract them, simply for a Jinchuriki to provide their chakra and support once a while. Of course, if a Jinchuriki is disloyal, the extraction of his tailed beast is a more sensible alternative. It would be a shame to do so to a family member, but the needs of the world outweigh the life of a single man." The message couldn't be clearer. If you do not obey and convince others to obey, you will all be gruesomely killed. "What are your plans?" Naruto asked, trying to gather information. "To replace the ninja system with something better, to establish global peace. A noble goal, you will agree, yet impossible to fulfill without resorting to radical measures." Nagato shrugged. "I will not tell you the details until you earn my trust, and believe me, you have a long ways to go." Naruto instinctively scowled. "Why? Why are you doing all this? How do you intend to bring peace by spreading chaos and mayhem?" Nagato stayed silent an instant. "Have you not understood yet the ninja system is doomed from the start?" he asked. "It is in its nature to consume itself, a beast devouring its own limbs. It would collapse on its own before another half-century had passed. I am simply hastening the process, and making sure a better society will replace it." The blonde narrowed his eyebrows. "Konoha and the other hidden villages lasted for nearly a century. And at what cost?" The redhead shrugged. "The ninja world's economy is based on a war market, meaning there has to be constant conflict for the hidden villages to stay afloat. Wars are secretly incited between nations so ninjas can get employment. People cannot challenge the inefficient, unjust feudal system since they cannot defy ninjas. The development of technologies that could make the world a better place, but with the side effect of making ninjas obsolete, is halted. Children with a bright future are indoctrinated and sent to die for nothing. Iron which could be used to build medical equipment is wasted on shaping kunai. Stone which could build roads is used for fortifications. The hidden village's war effort is absorbing resources which could be used to develop trade and a more sustainable way of living than pillaging your neighbors. Hidden villages spread suffering merely by existing. They did not stop war, only made it bigger in scale and better organized. The only difference between the current world and the clan's era is that children are killed at 12 instead of 9. Naruto opened his mouth and closed it. Such a way of living can only last as long as there are resources to waste, and the time when they are exhausted is approaching. When the hidden villages won't be able to sustain themselves, the world will return to anarchy and chaos, unless a new system comes to replace them. A homogeneous culture which would prevent mankind from fracturing itself. A one-world order which will bring long-term stability to the world. This is Akatsuki's true goal, an utopia which transcends nations themselves. The argument would have sounded convincing for many people, but Naruto was too jaded to buy it. You would have to change human nature to achieve that. Human nature is a social construct. Your own values were conditioned by Konoha since the moment you attended their academy. But I have found a factor which allows one to reach enlightenment. The leader of Akatsuki locked eyes with his fellow Uzumaki. Suffering. And you are the living proof of it. Enlightenment through suffering? The Jinchuriki was genuinely confused. You'll have to explain me because I am having troubles understanding. Those who cannot understand true pain cannot understand true peace, Nagato replied. Pain awakened you. It gave you the gift of resilience and determination. You were born with twin curses, and you lived rejected. Yet, the pain you experienced only inspired you to strive, to aim ever higher. It made you learn empathy for others, it taught you the value of true friendship. I have gone through a similar process myself, and this suffering is what drives me. This is what I am, the pain that shall teach the world the value of peace. Yeah, he's a complete megalomaniac. When you see Sasuke, you can't help but think pain makes people bitter. We are all bitter, Naruto. And this same bitterness is what makes us appreciate the good in the world instead of wasting it. Pain cracked his neck. I am surprised you did not use my blood to gain chakra, to be honest. Naruto's eyes widened. The samsara, one of its elements is my blood. You have seen the body I use as DK. By injecting my blood inside the corpse and using special rods to transfer them my chakra, I am able to enhance its abilities and control it remotely. The great sage once taught mankind ninjutsu through a similar, less crude process. Nagato smiled. Have you never wondered how exactly mankind learned to use chakra? Since I couldn't use it, I wasn't truly interested. You should have, for it would have cast a new light on yourself. The self-proclaimed god cracked his fingers. In truly ancient times, before the sage, all of mankind was like you. Chakra was unknown. In fact, beside the natural chakra used by animals and sages, it did not exist. Naruto frowned. What the hell? Then one day, a terrible beast fell from the skies. A creature of untold might. A god or a demon, no one can tell. Perhaps it was an invader, a parasite which had consumed other worlds and now came for ours. Whatever its nature, one thing was certain. This creature had limitless chakra and warped the earth with its very presence, threatening to destroy all of life. This was the first-tailed beast, the Kyuubi? If the story was true, then did it mean the beast inside his belly was linked to the origin of chakra itself? No. I speak of the Kyuubi's ancestor and progenitor. Anyway, when the world was close to death, a savior with immense power appeared out of nowhere and defeated the beast. This man would later be known as the Sage of the Sixth Paths. Nagato extended his hands. And I bare his eyes. The beast was too strong to be killed, so the sage decided to divide it. He shaped 9 creatures out of its chakra, the tailed beasts. But even this was not enough to completely defeat the original demon. So he found an alternative. Naruto understood instantly. He transferred the demon's chakra to mankind? Yes. Every man and woman was gifted with a spark of chakra, which would grow stronger with the individual, often inducing mutations like bloodline limits, and be transferred to their children. There lies the origin of ninjutsu. The 9 tails destroyed your spark and chakra system because it was both aware man could survive without it if his body had not grown dependent on it, and because it hoped you would rely on it to win your battles. Repeated use of its chakra would weaken the seal, probably resulting in the 9 tails escaping. With slight adjustments, I can prevent this scenario, in exchange for your cooperation. Naruto frowned. Why are you telling me this? Because what the sage did with mankind, I can do with a mere man. Nagato offered his hand to Naruto. If you are loyal to me and Akatsuki, I will gladly gift you with what the Kyuubi deprived you of at birth. Naruto silently observed the hand, without uttering a word. The offer was tempting, true, but he didn't trust pain in the slightest. There is still time for you to make up your mind. Nagato coolly dismissed him. Konan will guide you to your friends, so you may share a few minutes of camaraderie with them. Afterward, she will ask you if you wish to join us and put your resolve to test. You may leave now. The Jinchuriki turned around and started walking toward the exit. Naruto, the blonde stopped moving. Do not defy me, Nagato coughed. While I would have you and your fellow Jinchuriki side with us, I am not Sasori. If you oppose me, I will teach you a sharp lesson. Do you understand? Yes, the teen rasped. Yes, I do. As promised, Konan brought Naruto to the rest of his friends, and then left him alone with them in an empty community hall. It was obvious they had seen better days. They were pale and sickly looking, with Sasuke looking to be the most affected of the bunch. Yugao had lost her mask and seemed truly tired. Fu was shaking slightly, and Han waited, his arms crossed. Chakra suppressing seals, Yugao explained, revealing her arm to Naruto. Black designs had been painted on it. They suppressed the individual's chakra to a minimal level. Enough to live, not enough to fuel any technique. Sasuke is too young now to suffer from a chakra sickness, and in our case, Fu began, they reinforced our Bija seals so we cannot draw on their power. Probably did the same with you. Naruto had guessed something like that would happen. They treated you well? They gave the Han a funny radio so he can listen to music, but otherwise, the Han has seen better days. The giant shrugged. Pain blackmailed you, didn't he? Yes. There was probably bugs in the room, but Naruto couldn't care less. It's not like I've got a choice. I'll be allowed to see you once per week, apparently. They told me they would make us move from place to place, Sasuke guessed. In case we try preparing an escape, this greatly complicated things. I see, Yugao locked eyes with Naruto. Surprisingly, the teen didn't need words to understand the message she wanted to convey. It was as clear as water, earn Pain's trust. Do what he's telling you. Try gathering information or contact the outside world. In other words, stay undercover. Naruto silently nodded. The rest of the discussion was quite short. Naruto shared them the radio's info, while stressing the fact the information might not be objective. Obviously, the rest of his friends were too weakened by the seals to react with clarity of mind. This sickness is a temporary side effect of chakra withdrawal, Konan admitted. Once exiting the room with Naruto, they will recover their strength over the next days. Do not worry, we have medics checking on them every day. Naruto kept his mouth shut, unwilling to talk. The blue-haired woman frowned. I understand your reluctance, but I promise you all I care about is your welfare. If you ever need anything, I will do my best to grant your wish, within the limits of my loyalty and competences. The blonde inhaled deeply. I will work for Pain, not out of your own will, Konan noted, but it's a start. All right, in order to test your loyalty and let you acclimatize to your new home, you will be sent to do a few missions for Amegakure, under the watch of one of Akatsuki's main members. Naruto raised his head with an obvious lack of enthusiasm. My new home? Amegakure is your home now, Naruto. Your arrival might have been difficult, but you will find a better life in this place than in Konoha, trust me. Konan gave him a gentle smile. You can go now. Waiting outside the building, shielding himself from the rain with an umbrella, Itachi couldn't help but adopt a grim face. When they came face to face, he and Naruto Uzumaki exchanged gazes. The teenager seemed to instantly recognize him, as Itachi picked a gleam of disgust in the boy's eyes. If his expression was to be trusted, the Jinchuriki wasn't especially enjoying his current situation. Happy to meet you, Naruto-san, Itachi began, shielding the kid with his umbrella. The pleasure isn't mutual, Itachi-san, the blonde replied with venom. Sasuke told him, the Uchiha guessed. Nice. Now any hope I had to make a good impression is gone. This complicates my plans. Konan-san asked me to be your senpai for the duration of your stay in Amegakure, he explained. Pain-sama gave you clear rules to follow. Breaking them will result in severe consequences. Naruto lowered his head and obeyed. Itachi's activated Sharingan, however, picked the subtle hints of defiance the teen attempted to hide. He's biding his time until he finds an opportunity, the Uchiha thought. Good. While you are completely free to walk around inside AIM as you please, you are forbidden from leaving the city. Pain removed the tracker Sarutobi put in your seal and replaced it with his own version, meaning while none of your allies will be able to track you down, Akatsuki can easily locate you anywhere, anytime. The teen didn't appear surprised and kept listening. You will receive a daily allowance so you can attend to your needs, Itachi explained. However, guards will check out your belongings and are authorized to use force on you if you resist or are under suspicion. The people you will talk to shall also be kept under scrutiny, so if you convince someone to smuggle you out, they will probably end up dead, by your fault. As the boy didn't say a word, Itachi briefly wondered if that was how Kisame felt when they were doing missions. You and other members of Pain-sama's army will do missions and exercises together. Our leader believes in team building. After I show you the main areas in the city, you and I will have to help solve a few minor vandalism problems in the merchant district. Finally, finding Naruto's silence a little too unnerving, Itachi asked a stupid question. Naruto, the Uchiha began, do you trust me? No, you will have to, Itachi inhaled sharply. If you and your friends wish to escape this place, that is. This actually caused the teen's eyes to widen in surprise. What? He asked flatly. I am your only friend in this city, Naruto-san, Itachi replied before turning his back on the blonde. You would do well to remember that. Chapter 14. True Pain. Amegakure. 6 months after the invasion of Konoha. The downpour in the land of rain only stopped during winter. Well, that wasn't exactly true. The downpour often ceased during the other seasons, either naturally or thanks to one of Pain's insane jutsu. Naruto still had little idea how a ninja could control weather itself. He guessed this ability was one of the many superpowers the Rinnegan had in store, and he thought the Sharingan was overpowered, but even Pain couldn't do anything when winter came. The downpour above AIM stopped during this season because it was replaced with snow. Lots and lots of snow. The only reason Pain tolerated this weather was simply because the self-proclaimed god had yet to find a jutsu to control it. Naruto guessed it had something to do with chakra affinities, although he couldn't confirm his hypothesis. Winter had come early, and from what he had gathered, it would be a very cold one. The radio implied IWA had suffered a snowstorm and that the entire continent would be covered with snow. Such a harsh winter happened roughly once every 2 decades. Standing still in the middle of a street, Naruto kept staring at the skies above him. The snow was falling slowly, the prelude to tonight's announced snowstorm. It was a peaceful view. Dull, but still far preferred to the constant rain he had been experiencing until recently. He heard his friend laugh. This is the first time you've seen snow? Fu asked. She had been forced to trade her usual clothes for an elegant fur-trimmed green coat and a fur cap of the same color. Naruto thought she was very cute in the outfit, but he hadn't dared tease the tomboy over it yet. The third time, the blonde admitted. He himself was wearing an orange cloak, a red scarf, and a black cap. The first time I was young enough to think ninja never killed, and the second time I was 11. Both times it had barely snowed. Now's the first time I've seen more than half an inch of the stuff. The streets themselves were covered with snow. Most of the D-rank missions assigned these days were about getting rid of it so people could walk inside the city without any trouble. Naruto had suggested getting his flamethrower back would be faster, praising the value of powerful, wild, beautiful fire. Konan had, in her great curiosity, asked if he was a pyromaniac. It's not my fault if I'm fond of starting fires. Naruto inwardly felt slightly bad about messing with Konan's mind. The woman was very kind, for the right-hand woman of a megalomaniac dictator, if you ignored her creepy extreme stoicism. She reminded him of Niji, a cold face hiding a heart of gold, or at least bronze. The blonde found himself thinking about his friend. It had been so long. What could have happened? Stop being nostalgic, Naruto. Can you read my mind? He asked with genuine curiosity. No, but you tend to make that face when thinking about the past. Fu rolled her eyes. I can read you like an open book. Ah, yeah? At least I make a face besides sulking. Fu sulked in reaction. Told you. The girl made an even worse face, before laughing lightly with Naruto. The young ninja was thankful for this small instance where he could simply forget his captivity. It was hard to laugh when the guards watching on you from the city's roofs didn't even bother to hide their presence. Of course, Naruto's situation had improved slightly over the months. He could see Fu twice per week now, and the guards had the decency not to listen to their conversations. No such luck with Han, Yugao, and Sasuke. He wasn't sure what happened exactly, but these 3 had angered Pain enough to be put in a jail somewhere in the city, which naturally complicated Itachi's escape plan. In fact, Naruto wondered if this was truly an escape plan or a trap. He had at first thought it was a sick test elaborated by Pain to see whether or not Naruto would truly be loyal to Akatsuki, and the demon vessel was still uncertain if that wasn't the case. There was a small chance it was a trick, yet the blonde had to take the risk. Akatsuki made it clear that they would extract the bijou of disobedient Jinchuriki, and none in their custody were especially loyal. Han would rather die than work for the people who killed his friend Rashi. Fu had issues with authority, and while Naruto had to admit Pain had valid points about how the world was run, he wasn't especially looking forward to the megalomaniac's victory. Akatsuki could kill any of them at any time, and Naruto was racing against the clock. He had attempted to make an escape plan on his own, but he simply couldn't overcome all of Pain's precautions without the help of an external agent. He would play by Itachi's rules. He simply had no other choice. While Naruto had been informed of the plan's details, he couldn't inform the rest of his group and couldn't know when Itachi would start it. There were eyes everywhere in the city, he had said, and the fewer people informed, the lesser the risk of discovery. All Naruto could do was to be patient. As they kept walking through the street, The duo stopped briefly to see people waiting before a soup kitchen stand, in hope of getting some food. It was one of Konan's initiatives, and considering the poverty in AIM, the most popular, Naruto had learned many things about AIM during his imprisonment there. The Land of Rain specialized in water techniques, genjutsu, and poisons. While most ninjas could be hired for jobs as varied as guard duty and helping civilians, AIM means were almost always hired for assassinations, thefts, or corporate espionage. That is, if they were hired. With Hanzo's isolationist policies, contacts with the outside world had been nearly non-existent until Pain took over. Unfortunately, AIM had yet to recover from Hanzo's disastrous leadership. The man had attempted to make the Rain live in autonomy, isolated from the rest of the world, forbidding trade and destroying the economy. The Land of Rain's main resources were minerals and industries producing goods such as radios, and unfortunately, mostly weapons. Hanzo was a paranoid war hawk, and most of the industry had been focused on bolstering AIM's military strength at the expense of the population's welfare. Agriculture had been ignored, resulting in regular food shortages. Even now, AIM had started to progressively open to foreign lands. The standard of living was one of the lowest on the continent. Sasuke had once mentioned it reminded him of the Land of Wave. All in all, the country was a hellhole. The change in management had improved the situation a little, but there was still a lot of work to be done. Naruto suddenly realized Fu had stopped walking. Instead, she was observing a mother and a young girl, probably her daughter, entering the soup kitchen. The female Jinchuriki was trapped in her thoughts. Fu? The blonde asked. Are you alright? Fu snapped out of her trance. Yeah, I'm alright. When Naruto frowned, she sighed. I'm a bad liar, right? It has something to do with your past, correct? Fu glanced away and Naruto instantly blamed himself. Look, let's go somewhere else if you want, he suggested, changing the subject. I know a shop where you can find wonderful scarves. The girl kept a serious face. Naruto. The blonde locked eyes with his friend. Fu, if you do not wish to talk about it, I understand. You don't have to do it. Yeah, but you already told me so much about you. It's only fair if I'm honest. Fu inhaled sharply. Do you have an opinion on Takigakure? A hidden village full of moronic jerks who thought antagonizing, and then exiling, their only Jinchuriki was a good idea. It's pretty accurate. How did you guess? She chuckled slightly at his deadpan expression. Alright, the truth is, we're a bit atypical. For example, our leadership is hereditary. Our current leader is the eldest child of the former leader. Still with me? No, Naruto admitted. I mean, what do you do if the heir is underage, crazy, or incompetent? There's a reason why it's the Kages and not the daimyos who lead the strongest military in the world. You're right. The system is stupid, and the current chief Shibuki is a spineless coward. His dad was apparently very courageous, but I never met him in person. Fu shrugged, returning to the original subject. Anyway, since we can't always trust our chief, Taki is mostly administrated by a council of elders. They're pretty much the real power behind the chief. You are related to one of them? Naruto guessed, remembering their previous conversation on how Jinchuriki were often selected among the family of the village heads. To ensure your loyalty? Yes. Fu seemed slightly angry. He interrupted her story in the middle of it. Taki's military is one of the weakest on the continent. The village once had a powerful kenjutsu, but Kakuzu stole it after the first war, and our other ace, the hero's water, is pretty risky to use and in limited supply. Taki, however, is atypical in that it was always a strong ally of Konoha's Senju clan, although said trust was almost shattered when traitors sent Kakuzu to eliminate Hashirama Senju. As a reward for their loyalty, the Shodai helped us seal the Nanabai in a special chest. Taki, like all countries with a bijou, attempted to exploit it. Taki's first Jinchuriki was a man called Rovagug. The name is weird and Nan itself never knew the guy's history, yet he's one of the people who gave Jinchuriki a bad rep in the first place. We had little skill with seals at the time, and too much of Nana's chakra caused Rovagug incredible pain, driving him insane. Fortunately for Taki, he single-handedly secured Taki's independence by wiping out entire armies during the First Shinobi War. Unfortunately, when the war was over, he started massacring civilian settlements, killing everything in sight. The guy sounded like a Protogara. I suppose after a time he was too dangerous to be left alive. Taki managed to trap him and extracted Nana from him. While Rovagug caused a lot of damage, the fact he assured the waterfall's survival and intimidated the foreign nations impressed our elders. 3 times after that Nanabai was sealed into a human, and each time it ended with the Jinchuriki losing control of the bijou. None did as much damage as Rovagug, but Taki grew disillusioned with the idea of having a competent Jinchuriki like Kumo's, and the souvenir of Rovagug and his successors lingered, causing the population to despise Jinchuriki, Naruto guessed. You are the fifth? Yes. My mom, as an elder, said it would be a great honor for her daughter to bear the burden of being her nation's champion, and oversaw the sealing ritual. I was 7 at the time. Naruto fell silent an instant. Her own mother decided to turn her into a weapon? What is done, Fu cut in quickly, not wanting to be pitted. As you can guess, I too lost control of the Bija and Nana destroyed a tenth of the village as a screw you to Takigakure. After this 5th failure, Taki gave up. My mom cast me aside, the city rejected me, and after a few years I too gave up and left. Nobody missed me. Then I found Han and you know the rest. Naruto hesitated an instant, before gently hugging the girl. She coughed briefly in surprise, until he released her. Why did you do that? She asked, genuinely confused. I thought you needed one. Thanks, Fu said with an embarrassed grin, before switching subjects. Hey, where's your scarf shop by the way? Standing atop a roof, ignoring the snow, Dosa focused on the door. His targets vanished behind. Naruto and Fu seemed perfectly normal, but he could see past appearances. They're preparing something, he hissed. That's the 7th time you said it this week, Sokka pointed out with a shrug. Get over it, man. Push this fucker off the roof and watch him crawl in his own blood, the voice in Dosa's head advised. We'll see if he's still mouthing at us after that. The higher-ups would ask questions and Kin would see it, Dosa replied, both his teammates staring at him strangely. The ninja cursed his mouth and ground his teeth. Do they look like prisoners to you? No, they're too calm. They're waiting for something. They've been here for 6 months, said Kin. They got used to their new life. To be honest, I find them cute together, idiotic worm. You should have her mouth stitched up so she can no longer speak. For once, Dosa was forced to agree with the voice. He should have asked Kabuto to be the one helping him instead of these two morons. The scientist may have completely lost it ever since Orochimaru kicked the bucket, but at least he had common sense. Pain had asked Dosa to observe Naruto, since he had already showed his abilities and had a former history with the blonde. Dosa had accepted the task dutifully and spied on the teen with diligence. He had grown convinced they were planning to escape, even though he had no proof. True, on the outside, Naruto didn't appear to be the scheming mastermind, yet Dosa had a gut feeling. The Jinchuriki was smarter than he looked and too damn rebellious to ever work for Akatsuki. Hence, the only way to survive was escaping before Pain decided to extract the Kyuubi. We should get rid of him now. Let's murder him and his girlfriend. Pile body upon body, then kill the witnesses. No one will ever know. Shut up, you're not real, Dosa cursed. You're just in my head. Then why do you answer me? Sokka glanced at him strangely. Dosu, are you okay? Dosu, look. Kin coughed. Maybe you should take a rest. I'm not mad, you idiotic kid. Yet, he was only half convinced. Kabuto did warn him the samsara may cause its user to experience some side effects, but assured they would vanish after his body got used to the drug. Dosa didn't trust the mad scientist, of course, but what else could he do? Stop using the serum? He had never felt better, and he was an amazing ninja with it. No way would he become weak again. So he would just ignore the voice and the headaches until they stopped tormenting him. Ignoring the frowns of his companions, Dosa noticed a strange girl in the street below. She wasn't especially remarkable, simply a cute brunette with long hair, yet he had the distinct impression she had been following Naruto and Fu for quite a time. She was waiting for them to come out of the shop. This one, Dosa whispered, drawing his fellow's attention, look at her. They obeyed and both exchanged a glance. She has been trailing them. Maybe she's one of Konan-sama's agents, Zaku suggested. Or maybe she just finds the blonde cute. Kin added. I mean, she looks like a civilian enamored with ninjas of her age. We've seen many girls like that. Her way of walking is too precise, she's too careful, too controlled, Dosa hissed. She's a kunoichi. I thought we were supposed to oversee Uzumaki, not some random kunoichi. Zaku snorted. Man, there are, like, 1,000 kunoichi in AIM. Dosa grudgingly admitted he had a point and focused back on Naruto. He made a mental note to investigate on the girl later. However, being Hokage was, in Tsunade's humble opinion, the worst job in the world. For 3 reasons. The first was the paperwork. In stark opposition with the common portrayal of the Hokage as a dashing warrior, a village leader spent most of his time behind a desk, overseeing the day-to-day life of the city, reports, and assigning missions. It needed an incredible attention for detail, and much to Tsunade's chagrin, a great resistance to boredom. The second were the people the Hokage had to deal with constantly. Between clan heads, merchant representatives, or the elders, it was pretty hard to satisfy everyone, to convince them this tax raise or this change in teams was for the greater good. Tsunade knew she should have taken more classes in psychology. The few that she had taken that were needed to diagnose mental-based injuries were nowhere near enough to deal with the headaches that came into her office day in and day out. The third reason, and the most difficult to deal with, was that the Hokage had to face threats to national security on a near-constant basis. Doubly so in troubled times like these ones. Tsunade-sama, Tsunsan's reports confirmed the increase in Kumonins at the frontier of the land of hot water. Shizen stated, since the latter is a vassal state, they have justified it as a preemptive protection. While it could simply be a provocation, Tsunsan fears Kumo's troops might cross the frontier and try seizing the northern part of our territory. Without Shizen's help, Tsunade doubted she would have lasted a week as Hokage. Her loyal assistant's eye for detail and calming influence had truly been a lifesaver. Dispatch Aburame's scouts in the area, the Senju ordered. I wished to know the Kumonins' numbers and their every move. Inwardly, she was very much worried. The fourth Raikage was renowned for his impulsive behavior and aggressive policies, the Hyuga affair being one of the best examples of his attitude. It wouldn't surprise Tsunade if he wanted to take over the Land of Fire, especially since Konoha was weakened. Considering Iwa had invaded the Land of Wind last month, Tsunade hoped she was wrong. The new Kazekage, Chio, had done her best to halt the ruthless advance of Inoki's forces, with some success. The desert was great, and while Suna was weakened, its ninjas were skilled at guerrilla warfare and small unit tactics, striking once and vanishing in the sand the next second. With luck, they might push back Iwa within a few years, or at least stop them from reaching Suna. But the Land of Fire was no desert, and Konoha had to face remnants of Orochimaru's followers spreading mayhem in the north of the country, and the Land of Rice. Tsunade was certain the one reason A had yet to find an excuse to attack was that fighting during a cold winter, with the probable food shortages it would cause, was too stupid even for him. Tsunade took her breath. The Raikage wouldn't have considered a war if Konoha still had the Kyuubi at its disposal. Any news from Jiraiya? His last message indicated he had infiltrated Amegakure and was looking for Naruto there, Shizen said. Mei Terumi suggested a point of rendezvous near the border, where a Kiri Konoha team could help escort the Jinchuriki outside the Land of Rain. As much as Tsunade distrusted the new Mizukage, she found the suggestion sensible. She had, however, the feeling Mei would probably try to recruit or abduct one of the Jinchuriki for Kiri's profit during the operation. Beggars can't be choosers, Tsunade thought grimly, before massaging her temples. She needed to take a break. Maybe could she smuggle in a bottle of sake and drink it when no one was looking? With luck, Shizen wouldn't confiscate it. The last Senju's reveries ended when a strange animal crawled on her lap. Sarutobi's platypus had grown extremely fat, to the point the Godane wondered how it could move at all. I guess after staying around ninjas so long it picked up a few skills. The creature was heavy, and Tsunade glared at it. No, Perry, you can't stay on my lap. Sensei may have been too lax with you, but I sure shall teach you manners. The eyes of the platypus suddenly turned into those of a lost puppy. All right, you can stay. Just stop doing that. Tsunade petted the animal. Seriously, what did you eat this morning? A dog? By the way, Tsunade-sama, did you see Taunton? Shizen asked. She has been missing for hours. Tsunade glanced at the platypus, who did its best to look innocent. When Konan arrived to oversee Han, Yugao, and Sasuke's captivity, she stopped in front of their cells, closed her eyes, inhaled sharply, and shrugged. You must be in tune with your inner Han, Han told the two guards keeping his cell. Both had traded their old outfit for a copy of the prisoner's red armor. Where they got the odd pieces of armor, Konan did not want to know. Do you feel your inner redness shining past your mortal flesh? The words of the Han are the light in the darkness of my life. One of the guards said, meditating. I can feel it. When you will embrace the Han's divinity, the secrets of the cosmos shall unravel, the Gobi's Jinchuriki explained. Your body will shine with pure undiluted awesomeness. You're all insane, Sasuke stated calmly, sulking in his cell. Yugao was meditating in a lotus position, doing her best to ignore Han's antics. May the great Han bless us. The second guard prayed. May our prayers make the world cool. Amen. In the Han we trust. Han added. Konan coughed, and the guard suddenly noticed her. Konan-sama. One of the guards gulped. This is not what it looks like. This is exactly what it looks like, Konan replied unimpressed, before glaring at the prisoners. I will have to replace them. Can't you stop corrupting minds with your nonsense? Now you can feel my pain, Sasuke deadpanned. This is not the Han's fault if people can feel the call of his divinity. The Jinchuriki shot back. The Han, in his great modesty, will be happy to welcome you in the ranks of the Church of Hanhood. You shall become a saint if you start wearing red. A cult needs martyrs. Konan rolled her eyes in genuine annoyance. It was the third set of guards Han managed to indoctrinate into his pseudo-cult since he began this charade. She briefly thought about how it all started, in the most ridiculous way possible. I know we meet under difficult circumstances, Pain started, as Han was brought before the Deva path, but I truly hope we can work together. If you cooperated, the Han won't work with Rashi's murderers, the giant replied calmly. Go fuck yourself. The Deva path's emotionless face twisted into small, controlled anger. You should be more polite. Patience never was the mark of a god. Han glanced at Pain, raising an eyebrow. You can't be a god, he said. Because the Han is a god. The Han says you're just a ripoff. Pain, for an instant, seemed paralyzed in genuine surprise. He hadn't expected that answer. Would you care to explain? Is it not obvious? A god is, by definition, awesome. The Han is awesome. Therefore, the Han is a god. Entirely logical. Now, on your knees, mongrels. I am not certain you understood. Kneel before the Han. Konan wasn't certain if the giant truly believed in his divinity, or if this was simply a farce to mess with Akatsuki. The latter option was more probable, considering just how ungodly annoying the man was. After sending the guards away and calling another set to watch over the Gobi, Konan turned into paper and flew to the roof of Aim's highest tower. The Deva path was meditating there, watching the skies. He's here, the god wannabe started. He's in the city. Konan frowned, slightly disturbed. Seeing the body of her past lover walking and speaking had always put her on edge, even if she understood the sentimental value in him becoming the public face of Amegakure. Who, sensei? Konan blanched. Jiraiya-sensei? Yes. The walking corpse of Yahiko frowned. I thought I detected his chakra signature in the past weeks with my rain control, but I lost track of his movements when it began snowing. Now, I am certain it was Jiraiya, and he is still inside our walls. This is bad. If their old teacher was in the city, who knew what could happen? How can you be certain? My agents informed me Jiraiya has been investigating on the disappearance of both Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto, Pain explained. Recently, some of my men reported the disappearance of few of our agents. Call it instinct if you wish, but I believe both events are linked. I wouldn't be surprised if Sensei managed to track us down. Do you want me to tighten the security? Konan asked. Increase the length of the curfew perhaps? Amegakure was already one of the, if not the, most policed city on Earth. Little there escaped Pain's notice. No. Yahiko's ghost crossed his arms, Nagato lost in his thoughts. This might be a golden opportunity to confront Sensei, Konan immediately understood. Since he's after the Jinchuriki, we can catch him while he tries smuggling them out, Pain confirmed. However, it also means we are running out of time. If he transfers his discoveries back to Tsunade or foreign nations, we might face hardships. The ultimate Kenjutsu needs to be completed as soon as possible. Konan had trouble believing that. While Naruto and Fu both appeared docile, the paper woman justifiably thought they would refuse to play along with Pain's plan. Han had loudly proclaimed his defiance already. The alternative, extraction, wasn't exactly workable either. Due to the loss of a few rings, the lack of replacements, and the fact the remaining Akatsuki members couldn't afford staying immobile for entire days, as they had operations to run, the extraction ritual took weeks to be finished under ideal circumstances. Akatsuki members had to take turns at powering it. It had taken months to extract the Ichibi and the Nibi already. I believe it is time for our prisoners to make a choice, Pain whispered. Bring me Naruto. Immediately, in a shady bar in Amegakure, two mass-murdering criminals were drinking some of the worst-tasting beers in the entire world. This is disgusting, Itachi pointed out. Despite his declaration, the Uchiha's face remained almost as impassive as ever save for the slight scowl he now had. Well, remember the time you told me Iwa's beer was the worst in the world? Kisame grinned. I decided to give you the worst beer in the world and watch your reaction, jerk. Itachi muttered under his breath. But you are right. You know what I love about you, Itachi? Your incredibly wide range of facial expression. Seriously, sometimes I feel like I'm talking to an iceberg. As the Uchiha failed to answer, Kisame cracked his neck. You're not listening, right? I am, it's just. Itachi locked eyes with his partner. Why are you an Akatsuki to begin with? The man shrugged his shoulders, not at all bothered with the odd change in topic. Samahata and I want to fight, he replied, petting his creature. The shark-like beast licked his hand, much to the Uchiha's amusement. Working with pain leads to interesting fights. You could have stayed with the mist. I could. Kisame chuckled lightly. But, let's be honest, I was born in the wrong century. I would have felt at home on some ancient battlefield, where the summit of subtlety was the battle between two armies. The ninja world is built on trickery, assassinations, all the stuff I'm not especially fond of. I joined Madara purely because I was fed up with doing Kiri's dirty work. You wanted an alternative, Itachi said, yet Madara and Pain disappointed you. Akatsuki, for all its talk about changing the world, is not that different from the hidden villages. We follow Pain, not his ideals, and when he inevitably dies, whatever peace he created will crumble. Kisame spat. I'm simply here because I hope to die in an epic battle and find glory in it. It's only when you fight for your life, that countries, politics, ideals and values don't matter anymore, that you live in a world of truth. The swordsman finished his beer. Why such a question? Itachi intertwined his fingers, glanced around to see if someone was listening, and spoke. I'm fed up with Akatsuki. Kisame stared at him in silence. You intend to free your brother? It wasn't a question. Him and the rest of the Jinchuriki, Itachi said, if Pain completes his technique, he will be unstoppable. He is insane, and I have little doubt he would end up destroying the world with it. Pain is going to hunt you down, and kill you if you foil his master plan. It shall be messy, I don't care. As long as Sasuke is safe and Akatsuki's plans fail, I will feel at peace. Itachi took his breath. Pain will kill me for this, but at least I can make up a bit for my past actions. And Konoha? Itachi cracked a sad smile. I served the leaf all my life, he admitted. I killed my family for it. I'm tired. If I could rewind my life, I would do many things differently, but what I've done is set in stone. I want to be free of it all at last. Kisame stayed silent. Why are you telling me this? Especially considering I could easily tell Pain everything. Itachi glanced at the bad beer, seeing his troubled reflection in the liquid. We've traveled together for 5 years, the genius stated. I like to think that we are friends. I thought you deserved the truth, and a good farewell. A brief silence followed the declaration, finally broken by the monster of the hidden mist. You know, I think you have been the first person in the entire world who has been honest with me since day one. Kisame crossed his arms. Alright, I'm in. Itachi briefly wondered if he had misheard. Kisame, what did you say? I'm gonna help you break out your brother and his friends out of jail, the swordsman said with a casual finality. Then we leave Akatsuki and all that take over the world bullshit behind us. We find some cold corner of the earth where we won't be bothered again, and we start over. Sounds like a nice plan, doesn't it? Itachi was briefly at loss of words before finding two. Thank you. When Dosa worried about the girl following Naruto, it wasn't paranoia. It was precognition. The girl discreetly spied on both Jinchuriki until they separated. She had already followed both of them for days and knew where they stayed, yet she wanted to confirm they hadn't moved elsewhere. She had to stop advancing after a point. The perimeter around Naruto's home was heavily guarded, and being seen for too long near it would draw suspicion. The girl had no intention of being detained and interrogated. After checking out she wasn't being followed, the girl entered a house located where pretty much everyone else in the city lived a good distance away. Closing the door behind her, she was quickly welcomed by one of her comrades. So? Niji asked. Did they move elsewhere? No, Tenten answered truthfully, before moving to the bathroom. Removing the makeup and color lens would take a little time, and to put it bluntly, she hated this disguise. Since every ninja could dispel a henge with a push, the group had turned to more mundane tactics to infiltrate Amegakure. How could Naruto do it repeatedly? The kunoichi pondered. It's so uncomfortable. Then Jiraiya's plan should go unhindered, Niji whispered. Gai-sensei finished forging the false passports. We should be able to pass the frontier, if we are quick enough. Naruto and Fu are both heavily watched, Tenten warned, remembering the trio of ninjas having watched them for hours. And that's without counting the Akatsuki members in town. Hopefully, we won't have to fight them directly. Niji raised an eyebrow. Is something on your mind? What makes you think that? Tenten replied. Deciphering your body language with my Byakugan is child's play, Niji replied with a little know-it-all smirk. I can already tell you're experiencing jealousy. The kunoichi glared at him. Ever since Jiraiya had taken him under his wing, Niji had become more and more adept at reading girls like open books. It had helped them during the mission, yet his teammate would rather keep some privacy. In truth, Tenten was indeed jealous. Oh, she was pretty sure Naruto and Fu were simply like brothers and sisters, and had grown closer due to their mutual imprisonment, but she was slightly afraid she had missed her chance to date the blonde. Tenten shrugged. She would have all the time in the world to deal with that once they had returned to Konoha. When do we start the rescue attempt? Tomorrow. Niji rolled his eyes at Tenten's astonished face. The longer we wait, the more probable it is Pain will kill his prisoners. We have to act, and we have to act fast. It's too soon, Tenten replied. Itachi and Kisame are still inside the city. If we move, I am aware of the risk, Jiraiya's voice interrupted the argument. But you know what they say, luck smiles to the audacious. The two teens exchanged glances. Who said that? They asked in unison. Me. They heard Jiraiya chuckled. Believe me, Pain will never see it coming. Nagato was a dangerous man. In Naruto's opinion, unlimited power should never be placed in the hands of an unstable individual. Hell, no one should ever wield the power of the Rinnegan period. If the blonde had learned something, it was that people with power had the nasty tendency of abusing it or gain a false sense of self-importance. Pissing off the god wannabe was a big no-no in Naruto's book. So when he presented himself in front of Aim's dictator, the Uzumaki attempted to stay polite and cordial. Naruto, the man said softly. He had been reading old scrolls when Naruto had interrupted him. How have you been? Fine, Nagato. I am sure your spies told you the same thing. They did, but politeness never killed anybody. Nagato shrugged. His relationship with his distant relative was still extremely cold, and not only because of the weather. I had thought I could give a gift. Naruto glanced at the scrolls. A familiar symbol was written on them. Wait there, Uzumaki scrolls, which Sasori inherited from his grandfather. I believe it is time for you to learn a little more about your origins. He handed the Jinchuriki the documents. You have the right to. After all, they started our shared story. Naruto took them, and blinked upon opening them. Is it some kind of joke? They're completely blank. If anyone could read a clan's lore, then a clan's secrets wouldn't be secrets, Nagato elaborated. Your grandfather encoded seals on the paper, seals which can only be activated by the blood of the Uzumaki. My Rinnegan allows me to bypass this limitation, but you will need to cut yourself, I am afraid. Naruto briefly wondered if it was a trap, before realizing Pain had probably extracted a few blood samples from him already. Biting his finger, the blonde spread his blood over the paper, deeply curious. His vision blurred, and he was surrounded with a thick fog. Is this an hallucination? He wondered, an astute comparison. Nagato's voice resonated around Naruto. The information inside the scrolls are a set of sensations sent to your brain by the seals, by using your blood as a medium. Another of the wonders Uzumaki could accomplish with Fuinjutsu. Naruto blinked, as the fog took a vague, humanoid form. It appeared to be the silhouette of a grown, but aged man, clad in robes and whose eyes were full of sadness and despair. My name is Uzumaki Kiryu, last of the 7 lords of Uzushiogakure, scion of the House of the 6 Paths, and the former archivist of the Uzumaki clan. The voice resonated like a distant echo. If you are hearing my words, it means 2 things, that the blood of the Uzumaki runs into your veins, and that I lost against a foe all my knowledge could not overcome, death itself. I sacrificed most of my chakra and life force so these words could reach future generations. Do not waste them. Naruto, Nagato whispered, let me present you your grandfather. These scrolls contain my memories, given life through blood and seals. In them, I stored what I could salvage of our culture. Our arts, our traditions, our history, our music, our architecture, and our knowledge of sealing, of warfare, of ninjutsu. But the legacy I leave you shall be more grandiose in scale and purpose. Shades began to take shape in the fog, that of 2 individuals fighting to the death. Contrary to popular belief, the Uzumaki are not a splinter faction of the Senju. No, the first Uzumaki were the result of forbidden unions between the Senju and their hated foes, the Uchiha. While Uchiha and Senju are each halves of a greater whole, we Uzumaki alone have the potential to one day equal the sage of the 6 paths. It is my firm belief one day, the fabled Rinnegan shall be reborn through our bloodline. Wait, Naruto blinked. Does it mean Sasuke and I are related? The distance is extreme, but yes. In fact, we are also related to people as renowned as Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. Nagato chuckled. A great pedigree, you will agree. In fact, the union of these bloods is probably the reason why I was born with the Rinnegan. The ghost continued his explanation, as new warring shades took form in the mist. Our clan has been graced with great lifespan. My father lived for a century and a half, as did his father before him. While many consider this life a blessing, it is also a curse. My kind has been doomed to see the new generations repeat the mistakes of the old, time and time again. My family has lived through eras, seeing samurais, ninja clans, and hidden villages succeeding to one another. But war never changes. The shades were replaced with what appeared to be a beautiful city. To bring order to the world, the Uzumaki have sought a way to end all wars, the ghost explained. Many shared the way of the Senju, of peace through love and wisdom. Others followed the will of the Uchiha, of peace through might and strength. My mother, Uzumaki Himiko, rejected both ways, having experienced both and deemed them flawed. Instead, she believed in peace through inspiration. If a paradise could be created on earth, then it would inspire men to search for a better fate than endless warfare. As such, Himiko founded Uzumaki, the village hidden in whirlpools, the first and only utopia. But in her great wisdom, she knew a paradise could be defiled, and so she took measures to protect it. Red smoke appeared out of nowhere, representing a complex array of seals, contained inside a giant circle. As the architect of Uzumaki, she created a powerful jutsu, by shaping seals underneath our home. These seals would slowly absorb the chakra of our clan through centuries, until one day, Akatsuki, the ultimate kenjutsu, is finally completed. A power able to wipe out entire countries in the blink of an eye. My mother believed it would allow Uzumaki to protect our paradise, and one day teach mankind the value of peace. The Uzumaki, whose lifespan gave them perspective and wisdom, would slowly lead the world toward a new golden age. Then, suddenly, all shades vanished, leaving only a shapeless fog behind. But these dreams lie drowned under the sea. Afraid of our might, the hidden villages plotted our demise. Kiri flooded my home, while Konoha took my precious Kushina away from me, so that treacherous Mito could curse her and my future grandchildren to carry the burden of the nine-tailed fox. I could only cry as the Uzumaki clan was scattered around the world, and I could only lament, as I saw my world, my future and my past, vanish underneath the waves, never to return. Naruto could almost feel the man's despair. Maybe it was genuine empathy or a side effect of the living memory, but he could experience the ghost's anguish. Then the despair turned into bitter hate. Yet, as they drown my home in the sea, I will drown their hopes and their dreams. I have remarried, and sired a new bloodline in Tsunade. For years, I prepared a plan that would allow the Uzumaki to reclaim their birthright, and to avenge the destruction of our civilization. I have found the location of Uzumaki, slumbering under the waves. The seals of my mother survived the devastation, and can survive for millenniums. I have marked their location in these scrolls, alongside the information needed to activate the ultimate kenjutsu. A primal, outdated map appeared before Naruto's eyes, clearly indicating a red spot somewhere between the land of fire and the land of water. After long hours of search and multiple studies on the Shikaku, I have discovered gathering the nine-tailed beasts would produce enough chakra to awaken the Akatsuki. In these scrolls you will find the seals needed to capture these creatures, to extract them from their containers and drain their power. I urge you, whoever you are, find them, awake our legacy, and torch this world back to dust. Only when all of mankind has felt our pain, our loss, and our despair, that the spirits of the Uzumaki will finally rest. He's crazy, Naruto realized. Completely crazy. I collected all available information on survivors from Uzumaki. They are dispersed, and most are dead, but not even destiny can stop the bloodline. Our clan shall rule the world. I have seen it in my dreams. This is the legacy I left you, the power to end all things mortal. The ghost sighed one last time, his voice weakening. Farewell, my successors. Finish what we started, let the world burn, for it won't be missed. The return to reality was very abrupt, causing Naruto to blink in surprise. It was a strange experience for Sasori too. The first time he looked into these documents, Nagato whispered. You will adjust after you reach the third or fourth memory, I believe. This is crazy, an ultimate kenjutsu? Naruto narrowed his eyes. My grandfather was insane, yes. After all he went through, it does not surprise me. Nagato shrugged. No matter his state of mind, the data he gathered within these scrolls was correct. Sasori went on to search for his distant cousins, and he found me. We also found a girl called Karen, but our genes were dormant in her. Kusa and later, Orochimaru, sought to awaken them through experiments, which gave her a volatile personality and mental instability. She is unfit to lead this world to its golden age. Golden age, you can't mean. The blonde paled, as he suddenly understood everything. You're gathering the bija to awaken this ultimate kinjutsu? And destroy the world with it? Yes and no. I have already started salvaging our legacy, and I fully intend to use it. But to bring everlasting peace to the world, not to destroy it, as your grandfather wished. I have grown beyond the sentiment of revenge. Nagato intertwined his fingers. With it, I will end the hidden village system, enforcing order through fear. I will have to destroy a hidden village or two, however, before they finally accept a new status quo, but the sacrifice of thousands is a small price to pay for a golden future. Naruto ground his teeth. Beside the fact you're going to kill a lot of people, it's only a short-term solution. When you die, you'll leave behind a weapon of mass destruction for anyone well-versed in sealing to use. Unless you intend to live forever, death will claim me sooner than you think, the god wannabe replied, ignoring the sarcasm. I am aware when I die, the ultimate kinjutsu will fall into the wrong hands. In fact, I am counting on it. Your what? When I die, it is only a matter of time before someone else finds this jutsu, but it will only lead to destruction. People will hold to the souvenir of the peace I brought, and it will inspire others to follow in my footsteps. Through the pain this weapon will bring, mankind will grow wiser. As I grew up and understood the value of peace, when people will wake up in the ruins of their world, they will understand the value of the peace I brought them and seek it again. A new mankind will be born. Naruto, enlightened, inspired. The god wannabe locked eyes with the horrified Naruto. You may judge me insane, but think about it. War never changes, because man never changes. In old eras, before the arrival of Chakra, people fought with sticks. Then samurai fought with blades. Then ninjas fought with ninjutsu. The world never changes, Naruto. The world we struggle to live in is the exact same one Hashirama Senju tried to end. History was simply a change in the weapons we used to slaughter each other. The wars only grow more violent with each generation as the newest weapon is created. Something drastic must be done if we wish to escape this spiral of death. The only solution I have found is to change man's very nature. Nagato, if you give free access to a weapon of mass destruction, then it's only a matter of time before some nihilistic psycho uses it to blow up the world, Naruto stated bluntly. Power-hungry people will seek it and misuse it. It won't inspire peace, but more war and destruction. It won't enlighten humanity, it will corrupt it. Your legacy will be the death of mankind. If mankind can't learn from its mistakes, then it does not deserve to live, Nagato replied softly. This is the only solution I have found to end mankind's self-destructive tendencies. If you have another one, I am all ears. Naruto opened his mouth, before realizing he hadn't thought about it. You have seen by yourself that the will of fire is not the solution, Pain said. Konoha is a bigoted place, where half of the Hyuga are slaves to the other half, and who rejected you from birth because you were different. So what is left? The Uchiha's philosophy? Madara proved it only brought chaos and mayhem. So I await your solution, Naruto. The Jinchuriki struggled to find an answer, before finally giving up. I admit it, I have none, but the fact I haven't found it yet does not mean your solution is necessarily the right one, he argued calmly. Pain inhaled sharply. Naruto, I am offering you the possibility of being part of something greater than you and I, or any man. I am offering you a chance to save this world. To build the foundation of a future golden age. So I ask you, will you join me willingly or not? Do not lie, or I will know it. Naruto hesitated an instant. The answer was clear in his mind, but it would be his doom. Whether I lie or say the truth, I'm doomed anyway, he thought. At least he was honest with me. Time to return the favor. Nagato, I think you're misguided. Your solution is too costly, and there is no guarantee mankind won't blow itself up when you're gone. And I think all of us should control our own life. A forced peace is worthless if it is involuntary, if people aren't free to accept it or not. I may be wrong, but this is what I believe in. He took his breath. I can't join you. There was a heavy silence. Pain seemed genuinely disappointed for the briefest instant, until his expression turned cold and lifeless. I hoped it wouldn't come to this, he admitted. I told you I would have to teach you a sharp lesson. Maybe when those you love are gone, will you understand my vision? It worked with me after all. Naruto's eyes widened. You can't mean, tomorrow, Akatsuki will start extracting the 7 tails from your friend Fu, Pain explained softly, never once raising his voice, and you shall learn true pain. Omake, Danzo's black humor. Toby was incredibly bored. The inside of the seal was, to put it bluntly, an endless white landscape. A white floor, a blue sky, and that was all. Toby had kept walking for hours with no end in sight. Then he had found it, a stone monument with words written on it. Toby glanced at it, hoping it detailed an escape route. Instead, he found his eulogy. Dear friend, today we mourn the loss of insert your name here. He died like he lived, defeated by the great, magnificent Danzo. We will miss insert your name here, not for his abilities, which may or may not have enabled him to momentarily surpass the greatness that is Danzo Shimura, but because of his stupidity. It is rare these days to find someone idiotic enough to defy the most paranoid and prepared ninja in existence, and not expect for a dead man trap to trigger should he be somehow fortunate enough to kill said magnificently prepared ninja. And as a result of insert your name here's incompetence, he is now caught inside such a perfect seal. Insert your name here starved to death inside an inescapable prison, with no way out and no means to kill time. Picture yourself the great Danzo raising a glass of fine wine and whispering succor, in paradise. Remember, insert your name here, it's a small world after all. Danzo, you magnificent bastard. Chapter 15. The Breakout. Amegakure, Sasuke's cell, 11 p.m. Amegakure's jails were dark, humid, uncomfortable, and ominously silent. The guards had left for a brief break, confident the prisoners couldn't escape by themselves. Slightly angered at being so blatantly underestimated, Sasuke had decided to find a brief relief from his humiliating situation by taking a nap, only to wince when someone kept shouting nonsense near him. The Han was born from human parents, but his divine origin was obvious in the events surrounding his miraculous birth. The giant shouted, apparently to himself. The sky was covered with rainbows. Birds and flowers sang his name. Dolphins crawled out of the sea to watch his birth. People fell in love with his baby face. I'm going to regret asking, Sasuke shuddered. Han, the Han. With the Han, what the hell are you talking about? The armored man beamed with pride. The Han is imagining the book of the Han. He only needs paper and a pen to start writing it down so that he may enlighten mankind. Sasuke stayed silent an instant, the time to digest the news. You're going to write a book about yourself? The book of the Han will be faith put into words, the Jinchuriki confirmed. A manuscript narrating the story of the Han, and the truth about the cosmos shall be revealed to the unbeliever. The cult of the Han deserves to learn how the one true God came to be. Wait, how could you know what happened during your birth? Sasuke asked incredulously. And what about the dolphins, and the why am I even discussing this insanity? Because your faith has awakened, the Han said happily. Embrace this godly revelation. Believe in my divinity. Ignoring his crazy cellmate, Sasuke turned to the only other sane individual in the vicinity. Yugao, how can you manage to keep your calm? Meditation mostly, he heard the woman reply from her own cell. It does wonders, I assure you. We've been trapped like rats for months, Sasuke grumbled, and with no means of escape. I can't even access the Sharingan. Itachi would have found a way to escape by now, he thought bitterly. Whereas I can't even find a way to pass time. Konoha will find us, Sasuke, Yugao replied in a vain attempt at comfort, or Naruto will find a way to have us released. Since they haven't extracted Han's Bija by now, I guess we're being kept as hostages to ensure his cooperation. That's even worse, the Uchiha replied. He hated being so powerless, so weak. All of his training, all of that work, all of that effort, and here he was chained like a pet. In the end, he was nothing compared to Itachi. The Han is pretty sure somehow, everything is going to turn alright. It will be my first miracle. Why don't you just shut up? Sasuke snapped angrily. How can you act so frivolously when we're in the worst possible situation? Han didn't reply anything. The silence disturbed the Uchiha, who wasn't used to this from the Jinchuriki. The giant later spoke again. The Han is aware how fucked up this mess is, he said, but the Han is no pessimist. Stay strong. Stay cheerful. Keep hope. It's only when you give up that all is lost. Sasuke didn't have the time to ponder the wise advice, for Yugao's next words caught his attention. There's a problem, she whispered. The guards should have came back by now. It might be a trap, Han pointed out. Maybe they want to spy on us discreetly. Or maybe, just maybe, a new, yet familiar voice echoed through the jails. Some lone handsome hero decided to save the poor damsel in distress. Oh, and her 2 boys. Mustn't forget them. This voice. Yugao blinked. Jiraiya-sama? The one and only, the Toad Sannin said, as he appeared before the cell's doors with a shunshin. I apologize for the delay, but the guards didn't want to have you released diplomatically. I had to rough them up a little. Wait, Sasuke cut in. How can we be sure you're the real deal instead of a fake? Jiraiya smirked, before destroying the jail's doors with a series of Rasengan. Who else could know this technique? He shrugged. Anyway, we've got to hurry. I'm pretty sure we'll have the entire AIM Ninja Corp after us within a few hours. Yugo frowned as she walked outside her cell alongside her comrades. Damn, it feels good to be free. They confiscated our weapon and battle gear, well, except for Han's armor. I've no idea why, because seeing the Han naked makes everyone fall in love with his sexy body, the giant replied with a matter-of-fact tone. Even Pain didn't want to take the risk. That, and the armor is useless with my chakra seal. I see. Jiraiya trailed off. He brought a scroll from under his robes and unsealed it, allowing 3 A and B uniforms and a wide array of weapons to pop into existence. Take your pick. I take it Pain found a way to suppress your chakra and bijou? The trio nodded, showing various seals on their neck or shoulders. The Toad Sannin examined Yugao's, before touching them with his index. They instantly vanished, much to the woman's astonishment. A rookie's work, Jiraiya shrugged. Pain is good, but not that good. He focused next on the 2 men, and destroyed their seals. Sasuke in particular seemed radiant, as he regained his power. The Sannin briefly ogled at Yugao, hoping to seeing her undress, until he realized she had already put the A and B uniform on herself when he wasn't looking. Damn it! Yugao narrowed her eyes upon guessing Jiraiya's thoughts, and seized a tanto among the weapons. The pervert didn't need a memo to understand the implicit warning and glanced away. Sasuke traded his ragged clothes for the second A and B uniform, but Han decided to keep his armor, confident it would far more useful than any battle gear. Jiraiya coughed and started explaining them his plans. Since you're all ready, let me explain you what we're going to do. Team Guy should be freeing Naruto as we speak. We're going to free Fu, meet our allies outside the city, then reach the frontier. Mei Terumi should be waiting at a rendezvous point to escort us outside this country. He crossed his arms. So let's go. The escape was short and almost boring. The group stepped over the dozen guards Jiraiya had previously killed, but faced no ambush or resistance. Yugao instantly guessed something was wrong, as no plan as risky as this one could go without a hitch. When they arrived outside the building, her fears were confirmed. Sensei, Pain's Deva Path whispered, standing in the snowy street alongside what appeared to be 50 NBU. How nice of you to pay us a visit. Amegakure, a building's roof, 11 p.m. This is insane, Fu said, as her savior set her down on a building's roof. What, you don't believe me? Kisame Hashigake snorted. Some of Akatsuki still have sanity, girl. Better leave the organization and enjoy the world as it is rather than rule ruins. The kunoichi rolled her eyes. The fact the man had slaughtered her guards, freed her, and carried her outside her prison didn't mean she trusted him. Especially since he pretended to have been fed up with his own organization, which she found doubtful. Then why didn't you leave Akatsuki long ago? Because I'm doing this as a favor to a friend, and if I didn't have that friend, then I wouldn't be stupid enough to defy pain. Kisame shrugged. I thought you should be a little thankful for my brief moment of suicidal overconfidence. Fu shut her mouth. Truth to be told, she was thankful the man had freed her, even if it had been completely unexpected. But he was still a ruthless criminal, and she was wary of him. That, and the others are still in danger, she thought. Thank you, she finally admitted, glad to hear it. So what's next? The girl asked. First you're going to show me the seals Pain used to restrain your bijou. Fu obeyed and showed him the designs on her shoulder. Kisame observed them for a time, yet didn't do a thing. Aren't you going to remove them yourself? Do I look like a super-intelligent seal master to you, because Jiraiya looks like one? She countered sarcastically. Point made, but luckily, Kisame shrugged, bringing a sheet of paper from his pockets and applying it to Fu's restraints. My friend is good with seals. Hell, he's good with everything except staying out of troubles. The restraints vanished and reappeared on the paper sheet, transferred away. Fu suddenly felt a familiar voice resonate in her head. At last, the Nanabai whispered. At last I can feel and speak again. What did I miss? Many things. I'll explain later. Thanks, Fu told her unlikely partner. So what's next? We go meet your boyfriend. Kisame chuckled at the Jinchuriki's glare. What, the lovebird is sensitive about it. That's not like that, you old fish fart. I'm only 30, girl, the shark man replied amusedly, before he tapped her shoulder gently. The two of us are going to get along perfectly. He glanced at the sky, frowned, and waved his blade. Prepare yourself, we've got company. Fu glanced at the nightly sky, and noticed a form descending in their direction. It looked like a giant bird from afar, but a closer examination revealed it was in fact a woman, with wings of paper waving in her back. Her face was emotionless, as dozens of paper tags swirled around her threateningly. Kisame Hashigake, Konan whispered emotionlessly, you will pay your betrayal with your life. Well, I was never really on your side, so you can hardly call it a betrayal, the shark man deadpanned, waving Samahata, can you fight, girl? There's going to be a lot of property damage. Oh yes, Fu said, as she felt the Nanabi's power flow through her veins. I'd been waiting for that moment for months. Amegakure's Memorial of the Dead, 11:20 p.m. Inside Pain's tower, in the morgue where bodies were stored before being turned into paths of pain, a humanoid creature was doing its best to locate a corpse among dozens. It had been extremely difficult to infiltrate the place, and to evade Pain's notice. But now that the god wannabe was occupied with his former teacher, the creature had seized the opportunity. It quickly found its target. The creature had never met Danzo Shimura in person, only its template had witnessed the man's death and the master's capture. Yet, the original and its clones shared a mind link, a bond allowing them to share their memories. The creature knew what it had to do. It put its hands on the man's belly, and proceeded to undo the seal on it. It was a complex array, but the creature had studied the technique beforehand. In a few minutes the seal broke. For a few seconds, nothing happened, and the creature wondered where it had failed, until a breach in space opened, allowing a humanoid to emerge, his face twisted into a cruel sneer. Out! Toby gloated. I'm finally out. He glanced at Danzo's corpse and snickered. Your eulogy means shit, you old fart. I'm out. Out, master, it would be wiser to keep quiet. The Uchiha suddenly noticed the presence of someone at his side. A white clone of Zetsu, to be precise. Since it was talking, it was probably one of the smartest specimens. Where's your original? He suddenly asked, confused. The original is dead, the Zetsu clone said, much to Toby's astonishment. Pain killed him and usurped control of our army. Or at least, we let him think he does. We are still loyal to you, master. Is that a joke? I was sealed only a few hours ago. Toby's eyes widened. Wait, how long was I sealed? Around 6 months, the Zetsu clone replied, causing the man to massage his temples. Master, 6 months, but it felt only like a few hours. Unless, time must pass differently in that parody of a pocket dimension. The Uchiha frowned. So Pain betrayed me. What about the rest of Akatsuki? Sasori and Orochimaru were killed during the invasion of Konoha. Itachi and Kisame have betrayed the organization for their own purposes. Konan, Kakuzu, and Deidara are still alive, as is Pain. Toby chuckled. So this Uzumaki rabble was losing control of his own men. This could work to his advantage. I made this ungrateful bastard Akatsuki's leader, and this is how he rewards me, the Uchiha snickered. No matter, I will crush him like I crushed Minato, Danzo, and everyone else who stood in my way. The ground shook a little. What's happening? Pain captured the last Jinchuriki, Han of the Hidden Rock, Fu of the Hidden Waterfall, and Naruto Uzumaki of the Hidden Leaf, alongside Sasuke Uchiha and an ANBU. Jiraiya of the Sannin, Itachi, and Kisame are trying to free them, and are currently fighting Pain and Konan in the streets of Hidden Rain. What? There's a giant free-for-all brawl of legends and nobody invited me to participate? Toby chuckled. This has to be corrected. Master, there is a last issue to be addressed. The clone pointed at one of the corpses. I think it might interest you. The Uchiha glanced at the corpse, and blinked. He carefully examined it, and was forced to admit the evidence. It was the real deal. Kakashi Hatake, Obito's former best friend and later sworn foe, was dead. Not only was he dead, but it was obvious Pain had been starting to turn him into one of his paths. The Jounin's corpse was covered with piercings, and while all his hair hadn't turned orange yet, a few of them had. It was disturbing to see Kakashi turned into this doll. Toby's blood was boiling with fury. Master, are you sad? The Zetsu clone asked. Yes, the Uchiha admitted, he was mine. Mine? How dare you, Kakashi? I was supposed to kill you, after destroying everything you loved. I've been robbed of my revenge. Toby sighed, calmed himself, and slowly opened his old teammate's eyelids, revealing the Sharingan, his Sharingan. Thankfully, Pain hadn't replaced it yet with one of his Pseudo Rinnegan. Now, Obito muttered, as he moved to extract the eye. Let's take back what's mine. Amegakure Streets, 11:25 p.m. Jiraiya couldn't believe his eyes. Yahiko? No, Pain replied, with a hint of sadness in his voice. Yahiko is dead, and his body is now a vessel to my will, my Deva path. He shall exist forever through my Rinnegan's power. Jiraiya-sama, you know this man? Yugao asked incredulously. Suddenly, she realized they had been tricked. Pain intentionally ordered the security to be lax tonight, so he could bait Jiraiya into making his move, she thought. He wanted to catch him himself. If he is the man I think he is, then I kinda trained him, Jiraiya admitted, deeply shamed, before glaring at Pain. Nagato, seriously, what the hell? Why are you doing all of this? I thought I had taught you better. You taught me well, sensei, Pain corrected. Don't you understand? I am applying your teachings. I am bringing peace to the world, as the prophesies foretold. All these sacrifices were made, all this blood was shed, so a new, better world could be born through suffering. I never taught you that. Jiraiya snarled angrily. I told you love was the key to peace, that I believed there was hope to surpass the ninja system and its spiral of death. I never told you to kill thousands and try to take over the world. I found it too hard to make your ideals a reality without necessary sacrifices. Pain shrugged. Sensei, I have transcended human limitations. I have become a god. It is not too late for you to join the right side, to be free from Konoha's illusions, and see the truth. Jiraiya's eyes narrowed dangerously. The only thing I see here is another mistake of mine I have to correct. He adopted a fighting stance. You are no longer my student, Pain. I regret it came to this, but I will not surrender to you, you self-righteous brat. Me either, Sasuke whispered, his Sharingan activating. No way I'm going back to your cells. I'll live or die on my feet. I thought our last fight had taught you just how outmatched you are, Pain pointed out. You took us by surprise last time. When we were exhausted and divided, Yugao shot back, readying her tanto. This is not the same. The boast was hollow. The only reason she hadn't tried to attack yet was that it was suicide. We must stall for time, she thought, until we can seize an opening. Look at you, Pain began. We are Legion, and you are 4. And what for? A genin barely out of the academy, an ANBU, an old man past his prime, and a Jinchuriki having deluded himself into believing in his own divinity. The odds are pretty one-sided, yeah, Jiraiya admitted, before turning it into a boast. The odds are grossly in our favor. Divinity? Nah, the Han was just messing with your head. He was born to transcend the gods. The giant started producing steam. Not to die as one. The god wannabe appeared genuinely disappointed for an instant, before his voice echoed with cold indifference. So you will make your last stand? How pitiful. Pain raised his fist. Aim means attack. The world exploded in black fire. Jiraiya paled in surprise, as the entire ANBU core was set ablaze and screamed, leaving only Pain and his enemies untouched. Then, the inferno surrounded the AIM leader, who frantically joined his palms together. Shinra Tensei, the shockwave turned the entire area into ruins. The buildings collapsed on themselves, Jiraiya and his group were blown away, and the inferno was extinguished by the blast. When the Sannin rose back up, imitated by his allies, they only saw Pain glancing in rage at the remains of his army, the Amaterasu. Pain glared at a new figure, who had leapt next to Han. You little backstabber. Jiraiya-san, Itachi Uchiha whispered, his body surrounded by orange chakra. Would you mind if I lent you a hand? Amegakure, Naruto's apartment, 11:20 p.m. You've got to open the door. Naruto's voice resonated through his apartment's locked door. Pain is going to kill someone. You have to let me out. The two guards ignored him superbly. Their god had brought the blonde here forcefully, raging and kicking, before ordering his men to keep him there until he told them otherwise. As consummate professionals, they stayed silent, although it was getting increasingly difficult to ignore the blonde's attempts at breaking the door. After a time, the noise ceased. For a brief instant, the duo thought their prisoner had given up, until they heard a loud sound, awfully similar to someone breaking a window. Both ninja exchanged a worried glance, put themselves on guards, and opened the door. They heard the wind from outside, which increased their doubts. If I don't come back within 2 minutes, lock the door and call Pain-sama, the first guard ordered, as he walked inside the apartment. Maybe it would be wiser to just keep our post. He's just a guy with no ninjutsu, no genjutsu, no taijutsu, the first guard snorted, as he went on to investigate inside the apartment, leaving his partner to keep the open door. What could he do? Spit on me? The guard, a kunai in hands, advanced carefully through the apartment, reaching the source of the wind, the cocktail bar. The room's windows had been broken, and the prisoner had apparently turned his bed's blankets into an improvised escape rope. Worse, he was nowhere to be seen. Did he try to escape to the floor below? The guard wondered, approaching from the windows. He won't get far. It was at this moment Naruto jumped from behind the cocktail bar, a shard of glass in hand, which he promptly shoved through the man's throat and carotid. The man's scream was muffled by his blood, and he collapsed to the ground. Naruto didn't even wait for him to die to steal his weapons and equipment. Oboro? The guard's partner called frantically, panicking over the lack of answer. When someone finally entered his line of sight, it was a blonde teen whose hands were covered with blood, and who was aiming at the guard's head with a kunai. The ninja promptly realized the danger and attempted to close the door. You can do it, you can do it! Naruto thought frantically as he threw the kunai as fast as he could. The weapon pierced the guard's right eye before he could close the door, causing him to scream and collapse on his back in shock. Naruto raced toward him, grabbed a second kunai, and then promptly finished the man by stabbing his face, repeatedly. It was a very messy way to go. You should have opened the door. Stealing the guard's equipment, the blonde briefly considered taking the AIM uniform as well, before realizing without makeup anyone in the city would recognize him on sight. Think, he told himself, reaching the building's stair and frantically descending. They hold Fu in an apartment at half an hour from here. If I run really fast, maybe I can rescue Fu before the guards there find their murdered friends and call the alarm. Assuming, of course, Pain didn't move her already. Then I must find someone who knows about the location of the others, interrogate him, and then rush at them before Pain realize I've escaped. Then we can run the hell out of this city. With luck, Itachi will help. Anyone with half a brain would realize this insane, desperate plan was doomed to failure, and Naruto was painfully aware of it. In all evidence, it would end with Fu dead anyway and the blonde under bigger scrutiny. But this was the only plan he had, and if Pain thought the Naruto Uzumaki would let him murder a friend without fighting back, then he didn't know the blonde at all. You've beaten worse odds, you can make it work, Naruto vainly reassured himself. You must make it work. When he finally reached the end of the stairs, he entered the building's entrance hall. 4 guards were waiting there, all wearing AIM's standard Chunin uniform. They all glanced at him in surprise, and adopted fighting stances. They will always underestimate you, Naruto remembered Yugao's lessons. They will attribute your victories to blind luck, and they will never see you as a threat. To them, you are a mere civilian or cannon fodder. This is your strength. They will never go all out like they do against renowned ninjas, which means you will have the advantage of surprise. You have to hit hard and fast, before they realize they're fighting for their life. Quickly examining the hall in a split second, Naruto elaborated a plan on the fly. He memorized the guard's location, before grabbing a flash bomb and as many kunai as he could. There's a reason why ninjas carry things like flash bombs, smoke bombs, shuriken and kunai. When they're trained from birth to shoot fireballs, Enko had taught him, the stuff seems boring, but 80% of the ninjas don't die because of flashy jutsu, but from wounds caused by kunai and explosive tags. They're the real weapons of mass destruction of the ninja world. Shuriken are awesome to distract an opponent. Smoke and flash bombs can help you escape to fight another day. But with your good memory and reflexes, I think you could use them offensively. Closing his eyes, Naruto threw the flash bomb, and the room was filled with bright light. While the ninjas shrieked out of surprise and temporary blindness, Naruto launched a volley of kunai at their rough location. Half the guards were killed on the spot, as the weapons pierced their chest and head, but 2 of them managed to dodge on instinct. The blonde heard one of them approach. Opening his eyes again, Naruto raced forward his newest opponent. The Jinchuriki raised his fist and smashed the Ainin's face as hard as he could, successfully dislocating the jaw. The man grunted and retaliated by trying to punch the teen's chest, but the Chunin was no Lee. Not as strong, and nowhere near as fast. Dodging the blow, Naruto unleashed a low, semicircular kick, targeting the man's inside knee. The surprised ninja lost his balance and landed to the ground. Naruto, wasting no time, stomped on his skull with his foot, repeatedly, until the man stopped moving. In the heat of the battle, Naruto didn't even bother checking if he had killed the man or just knocked him out. With his companions dead or incapacitated, the last Chunin executed a series of hand seals, and fired a powerful water stream at the blonde. The ninja dodged it with some difficulty, before throwing 3 smoke bombs at his opponent. The man was surrounded by smoke and began to fire his jutsu randomly, unable to perceive anything. Then he felt someone grabbing his hair. The next second, Naruto smashed his enemy's skull against the nearest wall. The man's life ended with a loud, sickening cracking sound, his corpse falling to the ground. Panting heavily, Naruto glanced at his bloodied hands, then at his work. He briefly felt disturbed by his own brutality, but quickly brushed the issue aside. You'll feel guilty later, he thought, as he regained his composure. You've got to. His brain exploded, or at least, it felt like it. A powerful, high-pitched sound ravaged his ears, and a terrible headache nearly brought him to his knees. It was an atrocious experience. He was so caught in his shock and pain he didn't fight back when a strong hand grabbed his neck. Naruto was quickly sent flying through the building's door, landing on the snow outside. He was almost knocked out by the sheer shock, yet managed to stay awake. Feeling nauseous and confused, he still managed to rise up to his feet. The air felt cold, and the street's neon lights blinded him, slightly blurring his vision. A big, bulky form exited the building, a strange device equipped on his arm. Sorry, Naruto, Dosu Kinuta whispered calmly. I saw your breakout attempt coming from a mile away. Dosu. Pain is fucking insane, the blonde protested. He's going to kill someone. No, everyone on this damn planet if he isn't stopped. You have to let me go. I don't think you get it yet, so let's put it simply. Dosu took his breath. I'm not paid to care. If so, I'll just kick your ass, Naruto replied, although with his nausea and headache the boast sounded hollow. The other ninja quickly noticed and snorted. My melody arm has screwed up your senses, and I'm not one of these grunts, Naruto. You're lucky the A and B were sent to capture Jiraiya, or else you wouldn't have made it this far. Naruto managed to keep a poker face, while inwardly, he was completely astonished. Jiraiya is here? How convenient. Don't play innocent. Dosu snarled. This was your plan all along, was it not? You had your friends start a diversion so only grunts were left to keep you jailed, and then you could escape on your own. While Dosu was occupied ranting, Naruto had managed to fight the nausea long enough to grab 4 shuriken, and aimed for the ninja's eyes. With luck they would pierce them so Naruto could make a quick getaway, without wasting time with this loser. However, before he could launch the projectiles, 4 strong hands grabbed his shoulders and forearms from behind. The Jinchuriki was quickly tossed to the ground, and pinned on the snowy ground in spite of his frantic resistance. Moving his eyes, Naruto paled upon realizing he was surrounded by at least a dozen Amnins. Did you really think I would face the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails without backup? Dosu mocked him. I know you're good, pal, so I ain't gonna underestimate you. He glanced at a hooded figure. Kabuto, paralyze him. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, the man whispered with a cheerful voice, as his hand became clad with a chakra scalpel. Sure, you won't be able to move for a long time, but hey, it'll be mostly painless. No, no! The teen snarled, struggling to free himself, without success. Let me go! Shut up! Dosu raised his foot, ready to stomp over the blonde's head. I said shut up, you little piece of... A green blur hit the man and sent him flying to crash into a neon light. 2 seconds later, the Chunins pinning Naruto to the ground were promptly killed by a volley of projectiles, releasing their grip. The blonde quickly freed himself and rose up, surrounded by chaos. His former tormentors were attacked by 4 individuals wearing ANBU masks, one of them rotating on himself and releasing a dome of blue chakra, forcing the Amnins to back down. Naruto's eyes widened. Niji? Next time, Naruto, please try not to get captured and taken to a foreign country, the teen replied with a familiar voice. It was a pain to find you. You can thank us later, Tenten added, throwing a metal sphere at this Kabuto. For now, please could you focus on our enemies? The blonde nodded, throwing a few shuriken. Guys, they're going to kill Fo, we can't. Jiraiya-sama is taking care of it. Niji cut him. We must defeat these guys before the entire city is alerted. Naruto, at your left. The Jinchuriki barely had time to turn his head, as a mass of muscle and rage tackled him and threw him a few meters away. Naruto quickly rose to his feet and dodged a powerful uppercut with a small leap. Alright, Dosu whispered with bloodthirst seeping into his voice. I wanted to deal with you without maiming you too much, but now I'm gonna beat you within an inch of a life. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Bring it.